door through which you entered the building, so you just want to make sure how you can get out in an emergency. There is a provision for an overflow crowd in the gym. As of right now, we have plenty of seats, so I don't know that we'll need to use the gym this time at all, so that would be good. We do have some non-resident seating up way at the back. We have two scout troops, Troop 424 that's going to present the colors this evening, and Troops 101 that are here at town meeting to earn their civics badge. So we need to be in our best behavior for the new scouts that are in back there to see how democracy works. So we welcome the scouts here this evening. And lastly, Stephanie Scanlon, the drama head department, reminds everyone that only water is allowed in the auditorium. No food or coffee is permitted. So who's who in the front of the room? I am Jim Fitzgerald. I am your town moderator. To my right is town council, the treasurer collector, Grayson Pelletier, who does our clock for us, the town clerk, the town accountant, town administrator, the select board, and in front of me is the advisory board. I have one point of personal privilege. Which is from Andrew Stewart, our town building inspector, who's got a statement about CRS.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Stewart, and I'm the building commissioner and floodplain administrator for the town of Marshfield. Being a coastal community with over 40% of its land located in a special flood hazard area, Marshfield has been a member of the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, since October of 1977. To support the goals of the NFIP, Marshfield joined the community rating system and is currently rated as a Class 7, which earns our residents with NFIP policies a 15% discount on their flood insurance. Marshfield has adopted higher standards for floodplain development, from construction of homes and other structures to wetlands regulation and stormwater management. All of these standards help improve our standing and discount with CRS, but also serve to protect our homes, businesses, infrastructure, and the natural beauty of Marshfield's wetlands and floodplain. If you would like more information on flood zones and flood hazards, flood insurance, floodplain development, wetlands protection, or stormwater management, please visit the Conservation Department or the Building Department on the second floor of Town Hall, or visit our web pages at www.marshfield-ma.gov. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. At this point in time, I'll call for the presentation of colors from Marshfield Troop 424. Thank you, Troop. And I call up now Major Lawrence Sweeney, U.S. Army retired. Larry retired from the Massachusetts Army National Guard after serving for 23 years. This included a 15-month mobilization and deployment in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he served as company commander of an air traffic services company. Larry was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for meritorious service, the Iraq Campaign Medal, and the Army Aviator Badge. He has lived in Marshfield for 25 years with his wife, Michelle, and they have raised their daughters, Elizabeth and Kelsey, here. Larry serves as a trustee of the Daniel Webster Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 8345 in Marshfield, and is a member of the town's Revolutionary War Monument Committee. He works for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you for being here, Larry, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now for our national anthem, I'll call on the Marshfield High School Chorus. We have Kylie Zima, soprano, Lauren Morris, alto, Jason Bernard, tenor, and Elijah Kennedy, bass.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. So just out of curiosity, how many here are new to town meeting? Raise your hand, please. Welcome. Good to have you here. Please shut off your cell phones at this point in time so we're not disrupted during the meeting. For those of you who are new to town meeting and those who need a reminder, all of this discussions happen from one of those two rear microphones unless you're a presenter, so you're doing presenting from the front. Presentations in general are a 5-minute presentation. This evening there's one article that's fairly intensive. That's the MBTA article, which we're going to have perhaps just a little more time on that particular article because there's a lot of information to be given out. Discussion from the floor, you get one chance to discuss for 2 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, your time is up, and you can't discuss a second time on a particular article. Voting is by a show of hands, which I will declare the vote decision, which can be questioned by 7 voters if they rise immediately after the vote. I will say that in general, I am pretty good at getting the sense of the meeting, and I can see sort of more people than you can, so it's always welcome to have people stand up and stretch their legs, especially when we get later into the evening, but usually I'm pretty fair at getting that number right. There's some non-registered voters that are in the room. I'm going to read their names and ask you to stand so that you can be recognized. These are people who are with their town departments or otherwise associated with the media. So it's Carol Hamilton from the COA, Mike Steele from Conservation, Rod Parcacino from DPW, Sean Patterson from DPW, Mike DeMeo, the Harbor Master, Gary Russell, Health, Mike LaSelva from the Fire, Robert Matthew Forte from IT, Jay Gillis from IT, Cindy Marcoux, Library, Justin Tonini, Assistant Accountant, Craig Jameson, Recreation, Jenna Gillis, Select Board, Colin Kennedy, IT, Karen Paulette, Veterans, Sean Strobel, Treasure Collector, Meg LeMay, Town Accountant, Tom Hickey, South Shore VOTEC, James Frazier from PCSD, Gil Johnson from WATD, Sean Leary from MCTV, and Mike McDonough from the Police Department. All those in favor of allowing them to remain in the auditorium, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that that passes and they can remain. And again, we have 2 scout troops up in the back that are going to be observing town meeting for their merit badge. There's a list of tellers that will count your votes if we go to a standing vote. You must stay in your seat until all the voting is counted, and the list of the tellers is, beginning of the meeting, I have way too many pieces of paper.
Sorry.
Section A, Barbara Carney, in the back. Section B, Jeb Deloche. Section C, Anne Marie Sacchetti. Section D, Kevin Robinson. Kevin was around here somewhere. Section E, Andrew Wenig. There's Kevin in the back. Hi, Kevin. Section F, Lauren Hughes. If we do have anybody in the gym, that would be Cindy Castro and Susan Sloan. As of right now, I have a screen that shows what's going on in the gym, and it looks like we're being able to fit everybody in here, which is great. So if we get into, and this is especially for new folks, and if we go to a standing count, what I'm going to do is announce that we're going to go to a standing count. I'm going to have the officers shut the doors so that nobody can enter or leave once we go to a standing vote. You need to be in a seat to take a standing vote. If you're not in a seat, you won't be counted. I will identify all the counters in each section once again. And once standing, the voter should only retake their seat when the counter has indicated that your row has been counted. And I will start off the counting by saying, all those in favor, a yes vote means, and then explain what the vote is, and then you will stand, you will be counted, you will sit. The count will come to me from the tellers. We'll put that up on the screen, and then we'll go to a no vote a second time around. And if for any reason you're unable to vote, you can't stand, let us know, and we'll make sure that your vote is counted separately. The rules are in your warrant, the town moderator's rules. I will not read them completely. Take a look at Rules 7, 9, 11, and 14 because they are especially important rules. There's a rule to move the question. If that comes up, if we have gone on to debate for a while and somebody from the floor decides they want to move the question, they get to a microphone and say, I move the question. At that point in time, I can choose to accept that motion if I feel there has been enough debate, or I can choose to continue with debate. Once I accept that motion, then we go to an immediate vote on the article. There's no more discussion. We just go to a vote. Typically, we use a consent agenda to get rid of some of the grouping the articles that are basically non-contested articles typically. This evening, there are enough moving parts going on that I have decided to forego any consent agenda, so everything is on the warrant. We are going to take the financial articles out of order first, and then after the financial articles, we are going to go to a lottery system. We draw that with like bingo balls. There is a substantial number of financial articles that we need to group together this evening because we are at a deadline to get our tax rate passed. So we need to get these all voted on this evening, so I need to make sure that we cover all those items. So they are Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, 11, 22, 23, and 24. So we're going to take those first in order. There are a number of linked articles. 12, 13, and 14 all have to do with the MBTA article. Those are going to be linked. Once one of them is called, we'll talk about all three of them. 15, 16, and 17 are linked. That's the ADUs, the accessory dwelling articles. So once those get called, we'll take them all at once, and 19 and 20, which is the battery storage articles, are going to link together as well. So we're going to go with the articles, the financial articles first, and then after that, what I am going to do is advance the MBTA article. So I think most of you are here this evening for that particular article. I don't think there's any reason to put that through the lottery, so I'm going to have that be the first article after we get to the financial articles. Okay, with that being said, we're going to go to Article 1. Now I'm going to read the motions. They may differ slightly from what you see in your warrant, but this is the official motion, is what I am reading. Article 1, the Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $129,121.15 to pay unpaid bills from prior fiscal years as set forth in the chart under Article 1 of the December 16, 2024 special town meeting warrant, and to meet this appropriation, transfer the sum of $32,337.95 from free cash, $89,534.18 from water retained earnings, $1,936.02 from water retained earnings, and $5,313 from solid waste retained earnings. So this is an unusual 9/10 vote. We need a supermajority to pass this, and this is being presented by Mr. Maresco, Town Administrator.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. This is a standard article of unpaid bills. Although there's more than there normally is, we're in the process, as folks know, that come to town meeting all the time. We're going through Munis conversion project, and when the bills come in, there's a process which must be followed. In any purchase, you have to have a quote. You got to put a requisition in. That encumbers the fund. There needs to be a contract if it requires a contract, an invoice, and then a payment. For whatever reason, a number of these either got stuck in the system or they didn't have the necessary components to make those ready for payment. So those were after the end of the fiscal year. The only way for the town to pay those bills is for a town meeting to approve that. We have the funds. We need the approval to make the payment.
Okay, thank you. There is a fairly extensive list here. I'm going to forego reading this list. We've done that in the past for a budget item. This is a little different. Are there any items in here that are questioned within this list? Hearing none, I'm going to go to a vote against. This is a 9/10 vote. All in favor of Article 1, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that passes by 9/10. Article 2. The Select Board moves that the town vote to ratify the collective bargaining agreements or other employee contracts with the following organizations with respect to the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. 1, the AFSCME State Council 93, Local 1700, the Clerical Union, and 2, AFSCME State Council 93, Local 1700, its Supervisory Union. Mr. Maresco.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. I'm happy to report that the town has settled with our clerical and supervisory union. We bring this before town meeting for a support vote. There's no additional cost. This is covered within the budgetary numbers.
Okay. Advisory Board. Sorry, I didn't ask for your opinion on the Article 1, so I apologize. Article 2. Do you have any statement on Article 2? Okay. That being said, this is a, just make sure, this is a majority vote. Seeing no discussion, I'll go to a vote. All in favor of Article 2, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that Article 2 passes. Article 3, the Select Board moves that the town vote to approve the proposed changes to the town's personnel bylaw Schedule A compensation plan for FY 2025 as set forth in Article 3 of the December 16th, 2024 special town meeting warrant. Mr. Maresco, you're on deck again.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. This is a standard article we bring at the fall special town meeting. This is to bring our bylaw employees in line with the COLAs that our collective bargaining agreement units get, and standard 2%.
Okay. Advisory Board? No comment? Okay. Seeing nobody at the mics, I'm going to go to a vote on Article 3. Again, this is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 3, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. Article 4. So for those of you who are frequent flyers at town meeting, you can see this as being a capital budget type article. The Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $2,459,301.54 to pay the cost of the items listed in the chart set forth in Article 4 of the December 16, 2024 special town meeting warrant, and to meet said appropriation, transfer the sum of $1,912,242.42 from free cash and the sum of $547,59.12 from unexpended amounts listed in the chart set forth in Article 4 under Funding Sources STM articles that were initially appropriated with other available funds to finance special projects that are now complete and for which no further liability remains, to be applied to Article 4 special article requests or to take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Moresco.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. This is a free cash article. I've never liked the term free cash, but this is money that's left over after we close out the previous fiscal year. We start planning the budget about 18 months in advance, so it's hard to project. So when we conclude whatever money's left falls to free cash, it has to be certified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that was done. And we're here these are one-time items from our departments. These are things that, and services that they need, and hope the town meeting will support these items.
Okay. Advisory Board. No comment. Okay. So I'm going to read these ones because I think it's a little more important to read these than the old unpaid bills. So if anybody has a question about any particular item, you're welcome to just say from your seat that you've got a question, and then we'll deal with the questions. Okay, number 1, police. Election security, early voting, election day, $10,515. 2, police, state mandated police reform and accreditation, $300,000. State police, 3, 20 bulletproof vests. 4, police, 28 AEDs. 5, police, social worker, $41,000. 6, facilities, town maintenance, $250,000. 7, facility school maintenance, $250,000. 8, facility schools, prepare RFP documents for restoration of 5 school roofs, $93,000. 9, clerk, new grade 8 position, $71,000. 10, fire, repair to pumper truck, $20,000. 11, fire, PFAS turnout gear, $75,000. 12, schools, glycol, hot and cold water loop, MHS, $50,000. 13, schools, ELS curriculum, $250,000. 14, schools, 10 new crossing signals, $130,500. 15, planning, beach nourishment, $223,760. 16, DPW road repairs, $200,000. 17, DPW unpaid road repairs, $70,000. 18, DPW 3 sanders or dump trucks, 4 dump trucks, $80,000. 19, DPW overtime playground rehab, $9,000. 20, DPW playground resurfacing, $2,751. That's very specific. 21, DPW playground inspection, $16,250. 22, facilities generator replacement, $37,675. 23, rec trails, Red Gold Farm, $28,000. 24, Harbor Master, new boat match, reimbursable proceeds from the sale of the old boat, $201,000. 25, Harbor Master commercial boom project, $23,639. 26, rec trails, Path Post, Red Gold Farm, $1,475. 27, IT, AV equipment for STM, $21,000. 28, Cultural Council Summer Concerts, $2,500. Sure. So what do you, go to a microphone because I can't hear you.
Hi, Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald Road. On line number 8 for the facilities and schools. I was curious if that 93,000 is to prepare the roofs for the solar panels?
It says it's for preparing an RFP to restore 5 school roofs.
And what's the
Mr.
RFP?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
point of order. So item number 8's been withdrawn because that's tied to item 5, which we're going to pass over indefinitely.
Okay. My mistake. I didn't know that was passed over. So that's being
Okay.
passed over.
So will the numbers be revised at
Yes,
the end of the article?
it's to 0. So,
Okay, thank you.
another question?
Yes, Julie Finn, 109 Old Main Street. I guess I just don't understand this table and how it reads, for example.
If you're reading, like if you look at number 6, town maintenance,
Yes,
and you've got a whole list of numbers next to
Yes.
it with blank spaces,
yes,
those were all individual counts that were used to fund the $250,000 for town maintenance. So basically, these were previous projects that were endorsed by the town, and then they were completed. There's no further cost on the jobs. That's basically money left over that's being used now to repurpose into another capital project.
okay. So in the first 1, 2, 3, like it's 10,000, 300,000, 1,433, and it says total.
Which number are you talking about?
1, 2, and 3,
So police, where it's 10,515,
yes,
that's the amount of that article, that item.
yes, and 2 is 300,000.
2 is 300,000, and the bulletproof vests total to 32,000, which
Oh.
of the 3 items there together, that's where the 32,000 is coming from.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. I have a question on the 10 new school crossing signals.
What number is that?
14.
Okay.
What schools were those, and how are those allotted? And how far from the schools are those?
Mr. Miller is getting up to answer your question.
Mr. Moderator, Thomas Miller, 89 Ames Way. If you go through town, more specifically near Daniel Webster School, Governor Winslow School, the current crossing lights that are there are ancient. We've upgraded a few of them, but we are coming forward with all these new solar crossing lights with the speed limit flashing, much like the ones that were just put in by the Martinson School on Forest Street.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Left microphone. That's you?
Oh, sorry. My apologies. So I just, 2 questions, if that's okay? I'll be
Yeah.
quick. Okay.
You got 2 minutes. You can
just
do
a
whatever you
point of-
want. 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Point of clarification. So
I need your
line
name and
item
address.
8. I'm sorry?
Name and address.
Oh, sorry. Lisa Kyle, 5 Housebrook Road.
Okay.
Just to be clear, to make sure I understood, line item 8, so prepare RFP documents, that 93,000 is the budget?
It's gone.
It's gone, so,
Item 8 is gone.
so the budget then is reduced by 93,000?
Correct.
Okay, good. Is line 23 and line 26, are they duplicates?
Line 23
Yeah, is that?
is the Red Gold Farm for
Yep, so that's-
28,000?
Yeah. Are
Okay.
they, because it looks like you have rec trails and rec trails, they're just separate, so I didn't know if why they weren't together as part of like, I don't understand why they're separated out.
I don't know. Mr. Maresco?
They were, Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. When they were submitted by the Recreational Trail Committee, they were sent in at 2 different times
Okay.
for 2 different locations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rear microphone.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So this money's coming from wastewater retained earnings and water retained earnings and solid waste retained earnings?
What are you looking at a particular line item?
Well, I want to know if you're earmarking that money for things that have to do with that. Since, you know, these are ratepayers that give you this money. So are you taking money from our water bill and spending it, excess money that we pay for our water bill and spending on something else that has nothing to do with water?
Is there a particular one where it's saying that? I didn't see it. There's DPW road repairs where they're rescinding several road pieces here under Article 16. I know, do you have a particular one where, so it's easier for me to find? No, Mr. Lynch, do you have a particular article where you're
No,
looking?
I don't. I'm just asking a question.
So if you look at what's in here, it looks like, to me, looking at this thing quickly, that DPW funds are going to DPW uses, but I don't know specifically.
Mr. Moderator, point
Yeah.
of order. I'm going to turn it over to the treasurer to answer that question, if you would like.
Sure.
So the motion reads that we're taking the funds from free cash. We're not taking any funds from any retained earnings from the enterprise funds.
So it's all coming from the general fund?
This is all coming from free cash, which is the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
It's the motion. It's not the warrant. It's what the motion that we're making here at town meeting.
Right, you got to go with what the motion says, not what the warrant says. Pardon me? He's the town treasurer.
John Strobel, 870 Marine Street, town treasurer.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Amy Young, 75 Island Street. I'm looking at line item 13, ESL curriculum for $250,000.
Mr. Miller?
Thomas Miller, 89 Ames Way, Assistant Superintendent of Business Finance Schools. This is the finishing up. At last April town meeting, we were allocated $250,000 for our English language curriculum, elementary curriculum. This is following up on the rest of that program.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
So is that, we're adding $250,000 to the last that we appropriated?
Mr. Miller?
So we're looking at $500,000?
Correct.
Can I find, is there a way you can tell me what the percentage of our population is ESL?
Mr. Miller?
No, this is a common misconception. It's not related to. There's a couple terms. Actually, let Dr. Sullivan handle this one.
Pat Sullivan, Superintendent of Marshfield Public Schools, 20 Woodhaven Street. It actually is in English. It's our literacy curriculum for the elementary level. It's called Expedition Learning. I'm not sure why they call it EL, because as you know...
Well, it says ESL, which is usually...
Correct.
That's,
Yes, you're correct.
He's answering your question.
It should say EL curriculum.
So what's the
It's
name of the...
It's Expedition Learning.
Okay,
the
so it's-
discussion goes through the moderator, please. Okay? Just
It's for our entire population. It's not
Correct.
directed at...
This
any-
is for all of our elementary students at every single elementary school, all 5 of them in
Okay,
Marshfield.
thank you very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Rear microphone.
If I may, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road, real quickly, item 22, generator replacement. Which generator, where is it located? And any other specs you
Mr.
can
Miller?
give me?
Do you know which generator? This is item 22 is a, oh no, this would be Fred Russell.
Mr. Moderator, Michael Moresco, it's for the Hill Street Fire Station.
Thank you.
Hills Fire Station.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, I am going to go to a vote. What? Is there one more? Oh, I'm sorry.
I have one question. If this is
Name
not-
and address, please.
I'm sorry, Kimberly Hardenberg, 154 Hampstead Way. If this here reads that it is the ESL curriculum and it's really the EL curriculum, can we have that changed, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll call it a Scrivener's error. We change that to, in the warrant, we'll change that in the motion to EL as opposed to ELS, or ESL, rather. Okay, so this is the majority vote. All those in favor of Article 4, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that Article 4 passes. Article 5 is being passed over, so, and it's going to be indefinitely postponed. So we're not going to discuss Article 5. Article 6. The Select Board and School Committee moves that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,050,000 as a feasibility and schematic design study for the potential roof replacement project at the Martinson Elementary School under the Accelerated Repair Program, ARP, of the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, and for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the MSBA, and to meet this appropriation, that the treasurer collector, with the approval of the Select Board, borrows said sum pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or any other statutory or enabling authority, said amount to be expended at the direction of the school committee, and further that the town, acting by and through its school committee, to be authorized to execute and deliver any written agreements by and between the town, school district, and the MSBA relative thereto. Mr. Miller. Oh, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Pat Sullivan, Superintendent of Marshfield Public Schools, 20 Woodhaven Street, and I am joined by Tom Miller, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance. As it was mentioned, we're asking for the sum of $1,050,000 for a schematic plan and feasibility study for a roof on our Martinson Elementary School. This is a similar motion to, or similar ask that we had back in, I believe, 2018 when we asked for our Furnace Brook roof. Our roof has reached the end of life, and I wanted to tell you just a little bit about the process thus far, and then I'll turn it over to, sorry, slide. There we go. And then I'll turn it over to Tom to talk more about the plan ahead and a little bit more specific about this roofing project. So on March 1st, 2024, we submitted our statement of interest to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, that's the MSBA, for the Martinson Elementary School roof. August 23rd, 2024, the MSBA conducted a staff study visit of Martinson Elementary as part of a due diligence review phase. And on October 30th, 2024, we were invited to participate in the Accelerated Repair Program to collaborate with MSBA in conducting a schematic design study for a potential roof replacement project at the Martinson Elementary School. And we're happy to say we were accepted, and the MSBA accepted statements of interest from 70 schools from 37 school districts into the Accelerated Repair Program. And I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Miller to talk a little more about it.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. As you can see on the slide above, the Accelerated Repair Program focuses on the preservation of existing assets. So this project will hopefully extend the life of the Martinson Elementary School another 35, 40 years on this roof. The Massachusetts state reimbursement rate, not only for the actual project, but also this schematic design and feasibility and design phase, is approximately 50%, 49.31%. So that will come from the Massachusetts School Building Authority. Districts are required to use pre-selected consultants. The MSBA does its due diligence and selects an owner's project manager and design consultants. And the most important thing here is we were invited back in October. We have 90 days as a district, to appropriate the funding to begin this design process. So that's why we're here this evening. Slide. So a little bit, this is a proposed timeline, and as you can see, January 2025, just coming up next month. The MSBA, if it is approved by town meeting this evening, the MSBA will assign an owner's project manager and designer to complete a schematic design study. So we're beginning this process, And then throughout April through September, they're working on the schematic design. They will attach a number, a budget number to the project. And then eventually, sometime between April and September of next year, it will go to the MSBA Board of Directors for their approval. Hopefully, if all goes according to plan, we would be back at October special town meeting, hopefully in October of 2025, as an ask for the total project cost. Again, that total project cost is to be determined. We're a guesstimate is in the $6 to $7 million range. The Furnace Brook roof was approximately $6 million. It's a little bit larger, but of course, inflation over the last 6 years has really increased the dollar value of these projects. So hopefully, if all goes according to plan, this roof wouldn't be done until the summer of 2026. So the last day of the school year in 2026 is June 17th. The roof replacement would begin on June 18th and then get done over that summer for September 1st, which is the first day of school of the 2026-2027 school year. That's slide. And this is just a little bit about the roof, only a few seconds left. But it was installed in 1999 from a project at the Martinson Furnace Brook project, and there's numerous amounts of issues with the roof currently, and we can get into that in further detail if necessary. And I think there's some pictures too.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you.
Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Advisory Board is in support of Article 6. Through careful analysis and review with town and school officials, it's clear that this roof needs immediate replacement. We have concluded the school committee has thoroughly investigated all available options to determine the amount of this request. To delay could result in additional costs and other unknown challenges. We also support the school committee in seeking state grants for reducing the overall cost of this initiative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go discussion from the floor, but just a moment. We've got a number of people who are standing along the side here and in different places. We do need you to get to a seat. There are, not right now, once this article is over, there are all kinds of empty seats over in this area, or you can go over to the gym. We do have a few people in the gym now, so the gym is open. But after this article is over, if you can please find a seat, that would be great. Left microphone.
Jackie Mason, 1415 Ocean Street. In 2021, you guys gave an estimate on this roof at $4.8 million. Can you explain why it went up so much?
Mr. Miller?
And this is an estimate. So, Mr. Moderator, the estimated cost, we had to go with an estimated cost based upon other projects that have been going on. That number is to be determined. That's what we're here tonight, is to approve the finances to go ahead and find out what the actual final number will be. So the just over $1 million, which is the ask for the schematic design, is based upon a 15% of a total project of $7 million. So that was just the quick estimate. 4.8, everybody knows the cost of everything has gone up over the last 3, 4, 5 years. So.
Okay, and my other question is, in that quote, it also includes structural engineering to ensure buildings can support the weight of solar panels. So I ask, will solar panels be added to this roof? And if not, can we add that to the motion that they will not be added to a brand-new roof that we are replacing?
That would be, you cannot add that. That would be beyond the scope of the article. But you can answer the question about the engineering.
Mr. Moderator, I was going to say this motion is straight from the state. We're not allowed to change it. So okay. That's one part of that. But there are no plans from the school department to put solar panels that I know of.
Mike, is that in your plan?
Just a moment. The building commissioner had something to chime in.
Mr. Moderator, all the updated building codes for the state building codes for commercial and residential are now requiring that all roofs being constructed are being structurally developed in order to support the weight of solar panels regardless of their use.
Okay.
Can the town administrator also confirm that solar panels is not in his plan?
This is a school committee article. It's not a selectman's article.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Right microphone.
Pam Pristis, 60 Central Street. I've had a roof replaced, and I didn't have to pay for a feasibility study. It needed to be done. And there have been tarps on top of Martinson for as long as I can remember. So why do you want us to borrow $1 million to do a study on a roof that needs to be repaired? Do the repair and forget the study. The guys doing the job are capable of looking at the damage and figuring it out.
Mr. Miller.
It's less a study as more of a design. This is the full plan being put together to do the work. It's part of the state process, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, that we have to go through this process in order to receive the 50% reimbursement.
Other people here who've had new roofs, did you have feasibility studies? I don't
Okay.
think so.
He
It's $1 million
answered-
that you could be putting towards the repair
Okay.
instead of spending it to see whether they find it feasible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rear microphone. Yes, you. You were here. You were up next.
Tina Shea, Carswell Street. So the feasibility study is $1 million, and we're being reimbursed half of the million, or it's $2 million, and we're being reimbursed $1 million?
Mr. Moderator, the ask is for just over $1 million. That's the full amount. And again, that's an estimate. You typically, these design studies are in the 10% range, but so it's an estimate. Any funds saved from this design will potentially go either back to the town or into the future project if it does pass through the process. The full design study is estimated to be just over $1 million. It would end up costing the town about $500,000 with the reimbursement.
And why are we calling it a repair if it's a replacement of a roof? Replacement and repair are two totally different things.
It's called the Accelerated Repair Program through MSBA. I hear your point, but that's what it's called, so we're just using that terminology.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Left microphone.
Thank you. Madeline Daly, MacArthur Lane. So I just, with all this roof repairs that we have going on, and, we're neglecting here to say that $1 million is a loan. And then we're neglecting to say that the additional amount of estimated $7 million is a loan. We don't have that money in town to be putting out in loan. Do we not have additional money to fix our roofs? And then additionally, I just think it's unfair of town administration to be holding our schools hostage from repair for their solar panel project. We have to stop this.
Stop.
Our children, our faculty, and our teachers are in those schools every day. And we all know that Martinson is in dire repair, in need of repair. So why is our town government holding hostage on the welfare, the well-being of our faculty, kids, and teachers?
Not sure where you see
not
this
fair.
hostage. This is a motion to repair one of the school roofs, so that's what's on the table.
Correct, but it's also a plan to put forth solar panels.
No, it's not. It's to repair the school roof. That's what this process is. That's what they have said. It has nothing to do with
Membrane is to put a base for solars. They
have said nothing about solar panels on these roofs. The only thing you heard was the building commissioner saying that all commercial roofs and municipal roofs are engineered to take them, but this particular project does not envision, from what I have heard, anything about solar panels.
Okay, but it is loan money, and we're already $30 million in debt. So we need to figure this out. We need to do an audit. We need to find money from
Okay,
elsewhere. We
that's-
can't keep loaning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right microphone.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So is this going out to bid, the schematic for the new roof?
Mr. Miller?
This goes through the Massachusetts State Building Authority, so we will be assigned a project manager, and we will work with that project manager to select a designer from the MSBA's list of already approved designers.
So it's a no-bid contract for $1 million to design a roof?
That's not true.
No?
Okay.
Then
Well-
explain it to me why it isn't.
What? Okay. I mean, do you have anything more to add to that?
No.
That's the answer.
So I have one more question. So we have 5 elementary schools in this town. What is the breakdown for population for each one of them?
That's beyond sort of the scope of the article, but do you have that information?
Well, we're going to spend
I can-
$7 million to fix a roof on a building that we might not be keeping the building, right? Someday, we might build one elementary school in this town.
I think that's beyond the scope of this article, saying whether it's going to be there or not.
Because if we have to do 4 more roofs at $7 million apiece. All right, thank you.
Okay. Left microphone.
How you doing? My name is Jeff from 63 Ashburn Ave. So I'm actually most intrigued about the $1 million. And this gentleman over here said it was a no bid, and I think you refuted that. Can we choose the designer, or is that designer from that list
Mr. Miller?
given to us?
There'll be a school building committee that will choose from a list of approved designers. So the state already has, the state run, as you saw, there's 73 projects across the state that just got put into the program. The program was not, did not operate for a couple years, so it has reopened. They have a list of designers already that the building committee will interview and select one of those designers.
So the $1 million you mentioned was 15% of the estimated project for the roof. There was also mention about 10% being the standard operating procedure. Why are we asking for 15% versus 10%?
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Moderator, again, it's an estimate. 6 million, 7 million. So for this process, whatever we don't spend will return. So I'm a resident. I'm an estimate. It's a high estimate. We're very hopeful that it comes in less than that.
So if we're guessing somewhere between 5 and 7 million, and I appreciate the fact things cost, then why do we need to even do a study if we know how much it costs in the first place?
That's what, they're funding the study to find out what the cost would be. They're going to do the design to come up with the study.
Yeah.
To come up with the cost. That's the point.
One last question. There was a mention of 2 people, a project manager, and it looks like a design person. If I divide that by 2, $500,000 each?
I don't,
Mr. Moderator,
I don't recall that, so.
The design is an architectural firm. It's not just one person.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to the comment, if you already know what it's estimated, why are you paying $1 million for it?
Right.
That makes no sense.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Lauren Clapp, 26 Fox Hill Circle. So we've known that we've needed a roof on the school since 2021, and we're going to wait till 2026 to replace it.
Mr. Miller?
We've actually known since 2017 because we put both statement of interest in for the Martinson roof and the Furnace Brook roof back in 2017. We were only given one project back in 2018. It was the Furnace Brook Middle School. That was deemed even needier at that time, but we definitely knew at that time Martinson needed to be done. We then completed the Furnace Brook project. MSBA went into a 2-year hiatus. We resubmitted the statement of interest for Martinson all along. We were finally granted this. So we were doing what was best fiscally responsible for the town to receive our 50% reimbursement.
So my other point here is, so anybody in here, would you allow your house to be leaking since 2017 on your family and your children and mold be growing in there with tarps over it for all these years when we know we can fix the roof? And why are we giving the state the authorization over our schools to fix them? Why can't we fix our schools without the state's involvement?
It's a funding mechanism,
It isn't a
basically.
funding mechanism. We should be funding it ourselves. Why are we going to the state to fund our projects in our town?
Okay.
$3.5 million.
Mr. Miller, if you want to answer
And I'm
that.
right
Yeah, I
here.
mean, it's-
Mr. Miller, I'm
it's-
right here. You can speak to me right here.
He speaks through me. That's the way town meeting works. The discussion goes back and forth through the moderator. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, once again, we are doing what's fiscally responsible.
It's not
We
fiscally-
have been, we have been repairing. Mr. Russell's been, we done a great job with what we've been able to do over the last few years. We know we have to fix the roof. We're coming to you before you to fix the roof.
We also did this with the high school. We let the roof go for all those years.
That's
and then
beyond the
we
scope
had to
of
get a new
this
high
article.
school.
This-
So
this
just
is-
remember, everybody, we're letting this go,
Okay.
and we're going to have to build a new school because of a roof.
Okay. Thank
Mr.
you.
Moderator, can I just very quickly, Sean
Very
Costello,
quickly.
Chair of the School Committee, I just want to interject. If we had chosen a few years ago to repair this ourselves without MSBA reimbursement, it would have cost probably around $5 to $6 million to do the roof ourselves. If we do it today with MSBA reimbursement for 50%, it'll cost the town of Marshfield around $3 to $3.5 million. Thank you.
Gentleman at the rear microphone.
John Clifford, 87 Wrights Way. Mr. Moderator, I move the question.
I will accept that motion to move the question. So I think we've talked about this enough. We're done with discussions. He moved the question. I accept it. So all those in favor of moving the question, please raise your hand.
That's nice, okay.
We should get a count on them. So we're moving the question, so we're going to a vote. So we're going to count votes also in the auditorium. This is a 2/3 vote. So for this particular vote, those who are standing, you can vote from where you are. After this, you need to get into a seat to vote. So I'm just waiting for Mr. Gibson to get in a position over in the gym. So, Mr. Gibson, are you ready?
I have a question to ask. Can I ask from here, or do I go to
We're not having any more questions.
No.
Oh, if you have a regular question, you can ask from there. If you want to talk as a citizen, you can talk from down there. Sorry. Hey, Don, can you hear me? Okay. So we're going to call for a vote. This is a 2/3 vote. I'm going to try by a show of hands. All those in favor of Article 6, please raise your hand. You get a sense for that, Don? Yeah. We have a two-way radio here, so I get a sense for where all you guys are, so thank you. Okay, all those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, I can tell you that clearly carries by 2/3. So Article 6 passes. We are on to Article 10. You all set, Don? We're going on to Article 10, what passed. The Open Space Committee, Community Preservation Committee move that the town vote pursuant to applicable provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, to appropriate the sum of $228,900 to fund the design, engineering, permitting, and the preparation of cost estimates for future construction needed to expand the South River Park to include a certain parcel of vacant town-owned land located at 2160 Ocean Street, Marshfield, Mass., and identified on the the Marshfield Assessor's Maps as parcel G08-05-02, acquired by the town in December of 2023, and to meet this appropriation, transfer said sum from Community Preservation Open Fund Space Reserves. And this is going to be a majority vote. Mr. Cantwell is speaking on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee.
Yes, hi, I'm Kevin Cantwell,
Hang on
Chairman of
just a sec,
Community
Kevin.
Preservation.
Kevin, just a sec. What was your point of order?
So are you going to clue us in on what the vote was in the gym?
Yeah, I could see it. It passed. It passed in here, even if the gym was all negative.
Okay, all right.
There was,
Thank you.
if it was any kind of a question, I'm going to go to a standing vote on anything, so, but it was not close. Mr. Cantwell.
Yes, hi, once again, Kevin Cantwell, Chairman of the Community Preservation Committee. We're requesting town meeting approval of this article. The Open Space Committee does have a spokesperson here for further questions on it. This money would be coming out of open space funding from your community preservation tax, what do you call it, set-asides.
That it? Advisory Board? No comment. Okay, discussions from the floor. Again, this could be a majority vote. Left microphone.
Joe
Jim Buckner, 460 South River Street, Marshfield. It appeared on a diagram, which I have apparently dropped somewhere, that this is right next to a gas station. Is that correct?
Mr. Cantwell, next to a gas station?
Susan Karen, Open Space Chair the Chair, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Susan?
Susan Karen, Chair of the Marshfield Open Space Committee. Yes, you're correct. It is next to a gas station. Before we made an offer on this property, there was an environmental study, subsurface investigation done with soil sampling. I'm sorry. To make sure that there's been no impact from the gas station on this particular property.
Okay, and that was deep?
I'm sorry?
It had a deep sub...
Yes, they did subsurface soil borings, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right microphone.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. The motion says to appropriate the sum, 228,000 plus. Have you already received?
It's being funded from the Community Preservation Fund Open Space Reserves.
Right, but has a bid already been accepted? How do you get that number, 228.9?
How did you get the number for the study?
We put out a request for proposals, and we got proposals back, and we selected a company.
Right, so you're at that stage. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, I'll go to a vote. This is a majority vote. All those in favor, I want to make sure Don's over there. Don, are you in position? I can see them over there anyways. All those in favor of Article 10, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 10 passes with a majority. We are on to Article 11. And for those in the gym, I can see you fine, so don't worry about it. And Don will be over there momentarily. The Open Space Committee, Community Preservation Committee moved that the town vote pursuant to the applicable provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, to appropriate the sum of $50,000 to fund unknown owner title searches, and to meet this appropriation, transfer said sum from Community Preservation Fund Open Space Reserves, said funds to be expended under the direction of the Open Space and Community Preservation Committee. Mr. Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Once Kevin Cantwell, Chairman Community Preservation, 20 George Street. This article, I think, is a great article. People are here and are concerned with 40B and development in the town. This article here, as it says in there, is a tool to help us buy land that we don't know who the owners are. We search it, and that land will help us prevent future 40B developments. So I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay, advisory board?
Don McAleer, Winslow Cemetery Road. The advisory board recommends approval of this article. The intent of this article is to prevent any issues that have arisen regarding ADA compliance with regards to our playgrounds and parks. The town administrator and DPW superintendent filed a joint application with CPC to get assistance for ADA compliance.
What's that got to do with
Okay.
anything?
Discussion from the floor.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So does this include every single unknown property?
No.
So as in like the 2 acres next to my house that is unknown ownership? Are you going to
No.
take that? Or are you
No.
going to give me the option to buy it first?
Give her a chance to answer the question.
No, this has nothing to do with, if you know the owner of the, this is for parcels of which there are no known owners. There was research done through the town planning office. The assistant town planner, Karen Horn, worked with these assessors. There are several properties throughout town where you don't know the owners. The town can acquire those parcels and add them to the town's inventory of its own land if we do title searches and are clear that there are no known owners. It has
I understand that.
It has nothing to do with.
I understand
Wait,
that.
she's
The property
answering your-
next to
she's-
mine
Mr.
is
Lynch,
unknown
she's
ownership.
answering your question. Wait until she's finished.
Because the objective of this project is to get as much land as we can in the most cost-effective way. The only things that are on this list of 20 parcels that will have title searches done are properties over 5 acres or over. So
I just think you should have provided a list of the properties.
we
with a
do
little-
have a list that's available if you would like to see it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Although it's not here, but we do have that.
Thank you.
We have.
Rear microphone.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Kind of a point of order. I think the advisory board member read a recommendation for a different article. You said something about ADA compliance. I don't
know.
I don't think we
Was
heard the
that-
correct.
Was that for Article 11 that?
So that's okay, Donnie. You read the wrong article.
Don McAleer again. I apologize, I read the statement for the wrong article. We do recommend approval of this article. The article's purpose is really to find out who owns the property and possibly purchase it. This will increase our open space, and another advantage is that it brings us more in compliance with 40B. I apologize for my transgression. Your fault.
You're forgiven. Anything else, Joe?
It's sort of a minor point, but I'm noticing in the reports by the different committees and recommendations, I see unanimous vote to support. Why can't they give us a number, like 4-0, 5-0, or something like that?
That's not what we have done. So
The other
maybe
thing-
something can happen in the future. The selectman vote was a 2-1 vote from the selectman. That's the only thing I've got in my motion.
Yeah, I understand you have no control over that, but it should have a number, because it's also good to know how many members actually got to review and vote on this.
Okay.
Thank you for considering that. I think I recall at least a couple of times, other times, and not too long ago, when we did the same thing, when we tracked down parcels that we supposedly don't have owners. What has changed that we have to do it again? Don't we already have a database? Maybe the
Yeah.
planning department knows? I don't know.
Sue's coming back down, but she can answer, go ahead.
I can't answer your question if there is a database, but I can tell you there was a similar project done you might be thinking about in 2005 where we picked up 11 parcels as part of a project with DPW to get water supply protection land. And we did come up with, we were able to get 11 parcels that were in the 3 different aquifer recharge areas. That's the only knowledge I have about previous unknown owner parcels.
Yeah, so what is this going to do? Look for parcels to build affordable housing on, or is there a specific task to it?
No, absolutely not. The article states the objective of the town getting these unknown owner parcels is to actually raise the town's inventory to the point where we will not meet the threshold, we will meet the threshold to no longer be subject to 40B developments in the future.
So
It's
hopefully
the opposite of what you're saying.
So hopefully this will be to help us get our glam number.
Well, that's, if you read the explanation on the article, that's exactly what it's for.
Thank you, thank you.
Left microphone.
Thank you, Madeline Daly, MacArthur Lane. So I'm just curious, you know, you mentioned there's a list. So is that on a slide anywhere at this point to present to town meeting?
We have a list that we can share with you. It was in the CPC application, but we were not asked to produce a slide.
And how do you propose that you'll share it with us?
We'll have it put on the website,
On which website?
the town website.
Town website? And it'll be there this week, tomorrow?
I'm not the IT guy, but I'm sure it'll be there pretty quickly.
Okay, I just have one more question. Is there any effort, I mean, I think it should be publicized, the list, because you could have a family member or a senior person that it is their property, and people should be given, you know, that amount of time to say, we own that property.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Moderator, can I?
The purpose of this article is to find out who owns the property. That's the idea. And if you find out who the owner is, then you contact them, and if there's no owner, then the town can acquire that property. That's kind of the point of this whole article.
Correct, but I mean, in addition to the research, that list should be made public.
And they said they will.
Okay, just so that
Okay,
people can
right.
see
They will do that.
if there's a family member or somebody.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew Stewart, 8 Highland Street. I would like to encourage the passage of this article. Not only will it help our GLAM number and decrease the possibility that we'll be able to, that we will have to do a 40B project, it also will help our CRS rating. The more that we acquire these open space properties, especially the open space properties in the flood zone or in the coastal barrier resource areas, which are mostly salt marsh or dunes, where a lot of these properties are located, it helps us in a number of different ways in this town. So I would encourage passing this article, and I move the question.
Great, thank you. And we're going to go to a vote. So this is going to be a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 11, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes by a majority. So we are on to Article 22. Article 22, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to amend prior authorization on Article 4, Annual Town Meeting 422-24 for 2 Chevy Colorado pickup trucks in the amount of $45,000 each for a total of $90,000, and authorize the Superintendent of Public Works to purchase in place thereof 2 Chevy Silverado pickup trucks in the amount of $53,162 each for a total of $106,324, and to fund this purchase, transfer the difference of $16,324 from wastewater retained earnings. And that will be Mr. Patterson, Superintendent of Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Sean Patterson, DPW Superintendent. And yes, we did get town meeting vote to approve the 2 Colorado pickup trucks in the spring, but unfortunately we cannot get them because they're not being made quickly enough. So we do need these vehicles as soon as possible, so we have decided to go and look at 2 Chevy pickups, half-tons, that are actually on the lot that we can get right away. And that's the purpose of this article.
Okay. Advisory Board. No comment. Discussion from the floor, rear microphone.
William Fragoli, 564 Summer Street, Marshfield. I ask this through you to the town council. Does this meet the requirement of a bid under the Massachusetts general laws of bidding, where this specifies a specific article, a specific item instead of a generic item?
It comes off the state bid list.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, this is a majority vote. I'm going to call for a vote on Article 22. All those in favor of Article 22, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes with majority. Article 23. Another Public Works article. The Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to, 1, amend the total project cost to upgrade the Plymouth Ave wastewater pump station from $8.1 million as approved at town meeting Article 8 ATM 42324 to a total project cost of $9 million. So that's a $900,000 increase. And 2, to meet this appropriation, authorize the treasurer collector with the approval of the select board to borrow all or a portion up to $6.7 million from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust pursuant to Chapter 29C of Mass General Laws, MGL, and issue general obligation bonds therefore, with the debt service to be defrayed by the Wastewater Enterprise Fund, and further, 3, to utilize $2.3 million previously authorized ARPA funds, and 4, accept any state or federal grants for this project, which grants amounts received prior to the issuance of bond or notes shall be used to reduce the amount borrowed, and further, said funds to be expended under the direction of the Superintendent of Public Works and general supervision of the Board of Public Works. Mr. Patterson.
Thank you again, Mr. Moderator. This project went out to bid about 2 years ago, and we had a program cost. And at the time, we thought we were spot on, but the way things are going with the economy today and the way things are being bid and to try and even get parts or labor is ridiculous. So unfortunately, we only had one sub-bidder bid on the project, and the project came in at $1.4 million, which was $700,000 over what we expected. So we had to come back to town meeting and ask for the $900,000 additional. We need the $900,000 to take care of some of the pipelining and wet well lining that we had as a alternate bid, and to upgrade the electrical components that we found out were deteriorated when we got into the project. So, and we're also trying to regain our 5% contingency, which would be about $445,000 at the end of the project. So we come before town meeting to ask for this to be approved.
Advisory Board.
Don McAleer, Winslow Cemetery Road. We do recommend approval of this article. The DPW is doing due diligence and having noticed and spotted and corrected non-anticipated areas of concern during this process, and should be complimented for their actions. Electrical panels inside and electrical work outside are the main reasons for this request. The original request to do what was bid is approximately $700,000 more, and the DPW is not allowed to rebid this subcontract. And again, they should be complimented for the work they do in our area of town.
Okay. We're going to go to discussion from the floor, and this is going to be a 2/3 vote because there's some borrowing. Rear microphone.
Stephen Lynch, 50 Central Street. So we're going to borrow the extra $900,000 to complete this project, which obviously needs to be done. There's no doubt about that. We have to complete the project. However, in the next article, you want to spend $765,000 to buy a single-family lot
We're talking about this article.
I know,
so-
but this is related to that article. So we're going to put the town in more debt, a $900,000 debt to finish this project, when we can just take the money we're going to use to spend to buy this house, which we don't need to buy, because one house with a modern sewer system is not a threat to our water system. So it doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay,
It's
but that's-
just typical spending our money with no regard.
Okay, thank you. Rear microphone.
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. How much do we have in free cash?
Mr. Maresco, can you answer that?
Mr. Moderator, I will ask our treasurer to answer that question for us.
So for general, Sean Strobel, Town Treasurer, for general fund free cash, we have $6,635,448.
So why are we borrowing?
Anybody?
Mr. Moderator.
No, stop.
Point of order. Free cash was certified just a few days ago, so when we put the warrant together, free cash was not certified. That's
At the end of the annual report of '23, there was $10 million in there.
That's actually not correct.
It wasn't?
That number was recertified. It was not $10 million.
Did you reprint the annual
No,
report?
the conversation goes through me, please.
Mr. Moderator, I can look anywhere I would like.
You can address this
I am
meeting.
addressing the microphone.
You can address this to me,
Yeah.
not to him directly.
Okay, well, he's speaking, so I'm looking at him.
Okay. You have an answer?
Did you reprint the annual report?
No, the annual report was not reprinted.
So as far as the townspeople know, there's $10 million at the end of last year.
There's no $10 million in free cash from last year.
Do you have the annual report? But there's $6 million in there now?
So there is $6.6 million in free cash, that's general fund, but we're talking about enterprise. We're talking about enterprise retained earnings. That is not at $6 million.
I mean, you're using free cash here like it's an open checkbook, and you can't use free cash for this instead of borrowing money and paying interest on it?
You need to pay for enterprise funds with enterprise funds, not with free cash.
But you can appropriate it however you want
No,
otherwise.
free enterprise funds, I knew a little bit about this. Enterprise receipts come from the users, and then they are used to pay enterprise costs. You just can't take free cash and put it into the enterprise fund.
I think we need an audit.
Left microphone.
I have Priscilla Maglio, Arlington Street. I have two things to say. The first thing is, how much money do we get from the towns that we service with our wastewater system? How much money do we get from Duxbury? How much money do we get
let me
from
see if we can get that
Situate
answer.
and Pembroke? What are they
Let me
paying
see if I
us?
can get that answer for you.
Okay.
I don't have that in front of me right now, but I could.
Okay,
Well, what do you think?
yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's able to give a guess.
Well, what does the town accountant think?
Mr. Moderator, $100,000 from Duxbury and sewer.
Okay.
What about Situate and Pembroke?
Does anybody have sort of a total estimate of what the receipts are from?
How about if we get all the totals and put it on the website?
Sure, but do you have any clue of what it is kind of right now or not?
What's the question again?
What do we get from other towns for receipts for the wastewater treatment plant? Okay, the
There you
engineer
go.
says 0 from Situate and 0 from Pembroke.
Okay. That isn't okay, but I'm just saying, you know.
We get it.
Okay. My second point or question is this. We take wastewater enterprise fund excesses and use it for all kinds of things in town, when we should be using wastewater enterprise money to give people sewerage in Marshfield who don't have it.
That's a whole different
And the
article.
money should not be free cash from the wastewater enterprise fund. It should not be going into the stabilization fund. It should be going back to the people of the town of Marshfield for sewerage and water.
Okay, you're right, that's all beyond the scope of this particular article.
So the question is, why is the money being used for everything else besides sewerage and water?
Again, you're beyond the scope of the article, please. We're good, thank you. We're done. Right microphone.
Go ahead.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street, Vice Chair, Board of Public Works. I just want to address I'm sorry, can't remember her name's question. The Board of Public Works is currently attempting to work with the town administrator and select board to try to come up with a more cohesive plan that addresses enterprise accounts.
Okay.
So thank you
Great.
for the question
Thank
about
you.
that.
Mr. Carrier.
David Carrier, 34 Outlook Road. I just want to point out that Plymouth Avenue Pump Station is essential to the operation of the sewer system, including Town Hall area and elsewhere, servicing an awful lot of the community that flows down. And when we did Sewer 2000 way back when, which expanded the sewer system up into other portions of the community all the way up to here, basically, we did not do anything to enhance the operability or the conditions of the Plymouth Avenue pump station at that time. And the additional operations and flow are part of what has created the problems that are being addressed today. Therefore, I recommend a vote in favor of this article.
Okay. Mr. Stewart.
Andrew Stewart, 8 Highland Street. I also would encourage people to vote for this article. This is the dry flood proofing of the Plymouth Ave pump station as well. We are protecting this from flooding so that it's going to service the town and continue to get our sewage to the public, to the treatment plant. Also, we do not get any receipts from other towns for wastewater treatment because the wastewater treatment plant only services the town of Marshfield and only a portion of Marshfield.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion. Going to go to a vote. This is a 2/3 vote once again. All those in favor of Article 23, please raise your hand. All those opposed. I declare that Article 23 passes with a 2/3 majority. We are on to Article 24. Again, a DPW article. Article 24, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to acquire by gift, deed, conveyance, or otherwise a certain parcel of land with the buildings and improvements thereon containing approximately 1.0 acres of land, more or less, known as and numbered 829 Old Main Street Extension, Marshfield, Mass., shown in the town of Marshfield's assessors maps as parcel E12-05-05, and described in a deed recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 36204, page 172, and further to appropriate the sum of $765,200 together with all costs and expenses of acquisition, including attorney's fees, and to meet said appropriation, transfer said sums from water retained earnings, and further to authorize the town acting by and through its select board and the Board of Public Works to apply for and accept any state or federal grants connected with the acquisition of said property being acquired and restricted in perpetuity for water supply protection purposes and held under the care and custody of the Board of Public Works, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Sections 39, 41, and 15B, and Article 97 of the amendments to the state constitution. Mr. Shaughnessy.
Thank you. Bob Shaughnessy, Chair of the Board of Public Works. I'm also known as one of the 3 water commissioners in the town. Our focus is to protect our water supply from anything. This parcel came up last summer. We're making a purchase to buy it, to take out the one piece that's 900 feet from our well. Water supply land is all around it. The purpose is to eliminate the septic system from going into our well. The location is right at the gate of the Furnace Brook well number 4. The parcel has 3 sides of it already owned by the town, and the old Main Street is in the street in front of it. The parcel is, as I said, 900 linear feet from the wellhead. The zone 1, which is at the pump head, is 400 feet, which means we only have 500 feet of buffer between the septic system and the zone 1. What is Furnace Brook Well 4? This is one of our most productive wells in town. It's yielding 1,000 gallons a minute. It's in large grain-sized sand, also known as the Whaler Pit. They took all the sand out years ago because of the great sand that was in it. The soils have no buffering capacity. Whatever goes in onto the ground will be in the well and in short order. PFAS, other emergency contaminants, even an advanced wastewater treatment system will not treat it. It will be in our well. The purchase price is $765,200, and it's all being paid for by retained earnings. There is no borrowing. We have a signed purchase and sale agreement. We will apply for a state matching water supply grant when it comes out in the spring. We need to own the land around our wells to protect our water supply. I urge and request town meeting to approve this article to protect our water supply. Thank you very much.
Okay, advisory board. Okay, supported, no comment. Discussion from the floor. This is going to be a 2/3 majority vote again. Right microphone.
Brian Smith, 79 Magoon Path. How long has that single-family house been there, and has there been any studies that septic does affect?
Mr. Shaughnessy?
We've done studies all over it. The parcel's been there. We look at all the available parcels along our water supply to do it. The previous septic system has been going into the wastewater, and with all these emerging chemicals, PFAS, with these treatment systems don't happen. They don't clean it up. We're taking an advanced step to protect our water supply. We don't need the septic system in our water supply.
And then, if purchased, is that single-family house staying there?
No.
Is it being demolished? And then is that an additional cost, and do we have an idea of what that would be?
Mr. Shaughnessy?
I don't have a cost for that. But we will demolish the house at some point in the future. We have done the same in other areas that are within our zone 2 and the close areas around it. We also have town forces that can take it down ourselves at a cost savings.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Carrier?
David Carrier, 34 Outlook Road. This particular house and its location, as Mr. Shaughnessy has clearly pointed out, is in a direct impact area for Furnace Brook 4. Right now, Furnace Brook 4 is the one well site that currently does not have to have any treatment other than what it's pumping. And preserving that is a positive thing, because the cost of operation, if we have to add carbon filters and the like, in order to remove polyfluoroalkyl substances, they have to be very rigorous and capable, and in many cases, sometimes they aren't. And we all know that the PFAS is a growing concern. All of the examinations for the 6 that are currently regulated indicate that the other non-regulated PFASs in certain aspects contribute to the impact that the PFO, PFOS, and the other 4 that are not currently regulated. And in some cases, we have a couple of situations. I talked to the water supervisor this morning, and we are getting closer to the 4 parts per trillion in a couple of locations when it comes to the PFOA and PFOS. And when that happens, we will have to add the best and cheapest way to keep water pure. Mr. Shaughnessy was a proponent of this back when I worked in the public works, and the bottom line is exclusion is the best way.
Okay. Rear microphone.
Andrew McNeil, 588 Main Street. New to Marshfield, so I might be speaking out of turn, but if this property is so important to our water system, Main Street doesn't have sewage along all of those properties. There's a lot of properties that are closer to that well that have septic systems. Why are we only choosing this one? And wouldn't it be better for our town to ensure all of those houses get off of septic system and put sewage along 3A and put that money that we're going to buy one property into all of the other properties? It doesn't seem like we're making sense to buy one property for $800,000 when we could put that into sewage, which we had a lot of other conversations about today.
Mr. Shaughnessy.
As the Board of Public Works, we're the water, sewer, trash, cemetery, engineering. We have long-term plans to protect our water supply across the board. When parcels come up on the market, we need to grab them when they can. That's the reason why we're buying it now. We can't wait 5, 10 years down the road for what if we have a sewer. As Mrs. Magliano, I hope that's your name, Ken Park needs a sewer system. The Bridle Pack 40B development needs a sewer system. If this MBTA piece passes, that's going to need a sewer system. We're looking at the long-range piece. What we have right now is we need to protect it today, and that's the reason why we're buying it today.
And I understand that. As a civil engineer myself, I appreciate everything to protect our water system, but we're identifying one property in this range that we could solve a whole bunch of other issues, generate more revenue by putting in sewer on 3A to all those properties. Why wouldn't we solve the issue instead of just looking at one property today? We could solve the whole thing. All the properties there. How many properties are within 900 feet of this well that we're looking at one property for? It seems
This
like
is the one that's available today.
If I can step in just real quickly.
Yeah, of course.
Getting sewer up there, if you added a couple of 3 or 4 or 5 zeros on the end of that $800,000, you might get close. I mean, it's an order of magnitude different price-wise. The sewer stops at downtown, so.
I understand that, but my property was less than that, and it was closer to the well, but it wasn't purchased by the town. But this property that's further from the well is being looked at to purchase.
Why? Okay. I think we're done with that conversation, so. Thank you.
Math doesn't math on this one. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Mr. Pasevich.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Question to the board member. Is this in a Zone 1 or Zone 2, this property?
Mr. Shaughnessy.
As I said, it was 900 feet from the well. The zone 1 is 400 feet. It's 500 feet to the zone 1. And large grain size sand, which has no retardation. And Joe, you're an environmental person. You know that there's no retardation. When the septic system goes in, it goes direct to the well.
When was the last time that zone was delineated, do you know?
Mr. Shaughnessy.
That's an engineering, Rod. Several years ago.
Okay. It might help inform people that the reason why we're buying this, and I'm in favor of this, is because it's in such close proximity to the well compared to other houses that whatever might get dumped into the water table through the leachate is going to get sucked into the well like really fast. And so that's why you want to get properties that are this close, even 900 feet. You know, as you go further out, it's a different story. I'm being told, I've heard that this is going to be a borrowing, or this is...
No, this is for cash.
This is for
This
cash?
is out of the enterprise, water retained earnings, and we have enough money in the water retained earnings.
Okay, I
that we
thought I
just
heard
got back
Mr.
this
Murder,
week.
you say it was a two-thirds vote, but okay. So it's coming right out of the retained earnings. Now, why is the DPW using their funds to buy this, but we're being told that the select board is acquiring it? Wouldn't this be, if this is purchased by retained earnings, retained be part of the DPW under their jurisdiction?
And it's acquired through the Select Board and/or the Board of Public Works. That's just terminology.
Votes to authorize the select board.
It's
to
under the
acquire-
care and custody of the Board of Public Works.
Oh, county care and custody. Thank you very much.
Left microphone.
Tina Shea, Carswell Street. So the purchase price is $765,000 and change. The list price is $659. Why the price difference?
We're paying the tax assessment, the current tax assessment for the property.
Okay, and then what is the plan for the structure
To be
on the
taken-
property?
To be taken down at some point in the future. We don't want any gardening, we don't want any agriculture, we don't want any pesticides, we want nothing to happen, it's water supply land.
So you're going to be coming back looking for more money for that?
No, we're looking to do it through town forces, as the superintendent of public works said that we can do it through town forces.
Thank you.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street, Vice Chair of the Board of Public Works. So this is being purchased because it became available. The department and the Board of Public Works doesn't shop around Marshfield and offer money on houses. This became available, and it's an opportunity for us to provide a little bit more protection by removing the possibility of anybody buying this house and operating the septic system. So the wastewater is not going to be processed through this house when we buy it, and eventually it will come down, but the point is that the septic's not going to be running. And in terms of the sewer, so we're also, trying to kind of work with discussing with the select board and town administrator and the engineers on a long-term plan for sewer, but $765,200 is not even a drop in the bucket for what it's going to cost to run sewer through Marshfield. So it really is, just can't compare them. Just to answer the last gentleman's question about the 765.2 in, reference to running sewer through there.
Okay, great, thank you. Go to last speaker, and we'll go to a vote.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So I'm completely in favor of protecting our water supply. However, this house, if someone buys it, is going to have to upgrade the sewer system to one that is a good sewer system that doesn't leach off into the field. There's other houses around that are, every time we buy a single-family house in this town and take over control of it, we all pay the increase in the tax levy. And it's not just a single purchase. We do this with CPC funds all the time. We buy property and take it off the tax rolls. And I just don't see how one house 900 feet away from the well head, not just the well is further out than the well head. So there's other houses within the well area, right? Is that correct?
There's houses further out.
But that's in the well. We're talking 900 feet to the well head when you
If
say
you look
900
at the
feet.
map, I don't know, it's the one parcel that's surrounded by water supply land, and it's sitting right at the edge of.
All right, well, I'm not going to belabor this point. I'm not even going to vote against this article. I'm just saying that, we have to be careful every time we buy a piece of property and take it out of the tax levy. It's, it's a continual process that we do with CPC funds and DPW funds. All right, thank you.
Okay. We're going to go to a vote. This is again a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 24, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 24 passes by two-thirds vote.
Thank you, town meeting.
So that finishes our financial articles, and I believe it's prudent at this point to go forward and start the MBTA article, which is Article 12. Now, the motion, and this is linked with Articles 13 and 14, the planning board moves that the town vote to approve Article 12 as set forth in the December 16th, 2024 special town meeting warrant. I'm not going to read the whole article. It's extensive. You can certainly take a look at it. I believe most people know what the gist of this article is about. It's going to be a majority vote once the vote comes. I do have a couple of comments. I read several times from people, why are we bringing this, why is the town bringing this back forth again? We already said no. Well, there is new information, and a previous town meeting does not encumber a subsequent town meeting to bring something back up to vote. You can, there have been articles, and this is going back to the gentleman who talked about the sewer. I think it took four votes of town meeting before the article was properly dealt with the concerns of the citizens at the time. So articles can come back to town meeting several times. And there's new information at this point in time that the planning board is going to give to people. You can weigh that information, decide whether it is important to the context of the vote or whether it is not. That's your decision to have. So I just want to explain that this is a completely legitimate, it's completely legitimate to bring the article back up so long as there's a reason to bring it back up. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Greg Emond, our town planner, to make a presentation, and then the advisory board has a brief presentation on how they got to their vote, and then Attorney Galvin has a couple of things to say about the legality of things, and then we will go to discussion from the floor. So, Mr. Emond.
Thank you, Greg Emond, Ice House Lane. There are two things the community must comply with regarding with the MBTA communities. It's the law itself and the guidelines. The law has three parts. Next slide. Section A, MBTA community shall have the zoning ordinance or bylaw that provides for at least one district of reasonable size which has multifamily housing permitted as right. Said district shall have a minimum gross density of 15 units per acre. Said district shall be located not more than a half mile from commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, or bus station if applicable. We all know it's not. Housing cannot have age restricting, and housing must be suitable for families. Next slide. Section B talks about discretionary funding that a non-compliant community will not be eligible for. There were 4. There were 13 that they have now added officially. So there are 17 different grant funding that can be withheld. Section C allows the state Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities to develop guidelines. The MBTA guidelines were changed based on comments that towns like Marshfield sent in when this began over a year and a half ago. And they do allow 10% of the units, if the community puts it in their regulations, to be affordable and count towards our 40B projects. Next slide. Guidelines, you can see circled in red, Marshfield is required to have 1,000 or have zoning that would allow the creation of a minimum of 1,158 by right units and shall have a minimum area of 50 acres in size. Going to smaller district would, or areas that you have wetlands or other excluded items from the state, will result in higher densities and possibly higher buildings in order to reach that 1,158. Next slide. This shows the area that we're proposing to change. You can see up at the top in the center where it says conservation restriction. That's behind the Quirk auto dealer. That has a conservation restriction on it. That can't be developed. The only other green area towards the right down close to Lichetti's, that's split between 3 existing parcels. State law does allow the communities to use land already developed as part of a new district. That's exactly what we did, and we've done that on purpose. That reduces the likelihood of this ever getting redeveloped. And there are no vacant parcels in this proposed area. Next slide. Planning staff has used the state sample zoning language as the guide and created a new section in our zoning bylaw, Article 16. This article addresses the MBTA communities law, and we've made some changes to the state model to better fit Marshfield. These changes are as follows. Capping the height at 4 floors. The state allows up to 6 floors. Capping the density at 16. The state just has a minimum of 15. If you do not create a bylaw that says it's capped at 16, guess what? You could get 18, you could get 20, they could go as high as they want the way the state law is if you don't specify it. We're going to skip the minimum area because the state doesn't suggest it. We're saying 30,000 square feet. We're keeping the water resource protection requirements in place for nitrogen loading and lot coverage. The state zoning, the town zoning bylaw has a higher nitrogen loading requirement, or more restrictive, 5 parts per million versus the state, which is 10 parts per million for Title V. Requiring 10% of the, as I mentioned before, we're going to require that 10% of the units have be eligible for the state SHI, which is the Subsidized Housing Inventory. Next slide. In February 2024, the Attorney General filed a complaint against Milton, and it's seeking a declaratory injunction for relief because Milton has not complied. We are not out of compliance yet, but in December, at the end of December, we will be out of compliance, and then we would be in a similar situation. One of the things that the Attorney General asked for is appointment is necessary of a special master to draft zoning language for Milton versus letting Milton do it themselves. April 20, the past town meeting, we did not approve it. We still have that deadline of December 31st. That's what we're trying to meet. The Supreme Court opened the case on October 7th. They have yet to decide. And it could be up to 30 days, so we may not know that until February. Next slide. One of the comments at last town meeting was, did you look at other areas? We had looked at other areas, but we looked at one additional area that we had not looked before at, and that was along Route 139, east from the downtown, from McDonald Funeral Home over to White Holland Drive. Next slide. This other area, due to the state Section 3A of their guidelines, mapping requirements, we would have to reduce the lot sizes from 30,000 to 10,000. And we would have to add an additional floor or higher density, 19 units per acre, to get to that same number of 1,158. While this area is developed, it has a lot of smaller businesses, single-family homes, some of them with businesses in them, and has a much higher chance of being redeveloped than the area west of the high school to School Street.
Excuse me, will we all have no time limit? Will we all?
Proceed.
Gatra route and has municipal sewer, it also has floodplains, wetlands, and other layers of excluded land as defined by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Also, this section of 139 only has 2 lanes, has no turn lanes or traffic signals. The planning staff decided that this was not an alternative area to develop. Next slide. Summary of changes, adding several locations to the language where it was exempt by the state law, specifically saying site plan approval. That was comments that we have received from the state. We had discussions with the state. They said that the language that we have proposed does meet what they're looking for. Based on the comments from the April town meeting, we completely removed section 1609, which was the fee in lieu of. This basically will say that all the affordable units will be developed within the projects or developments themselves. And then we've added language requiring an administrative fee and a consultant fee. Next slide. What is the worst case scenario? So I was asked by several residents and a member of the Board of Public Works to kind of give us what the impacts are. So the MBTA community, if we take all the existing commercial land in that district versus the apartments and condos, if we took all of those and we rezoned it at the 16 units per acre, we'd end up with 650 units of new housing, which is far below the 1,185. To show the overall impact, because we have 240Bs that have been approved, one of them which is large and already construction. When I asked the various town departments what was the impacts, I asked them to include Bridle Crossing and Mill Creek. That would bring us up to a total of 976 units in the worst case scenario. I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure everybody knows this is what's going to happen. But this is not going to happen tomorrow. This is probably going to be 8 to 10 years out before we ever get to a number like that. Now, what do I personally and the planning staff think? We're not even going to get to those numbers. We do not expect every commercial development on that side of 139 between School Street and the high school to convert over to residential housing. And part of that is because my understanding from developers and builders that with Mill Creek, that the rental market is going to be soft, extremely soft. In fact, Bridle Crossing will be converting over to ownership because they are concerned that the rental market will be soft. Next slide. Again, the residential condos, we do not feel that they are going to be converted because, or torn down and redone because the cost of buying out individual owners and the density difference is not high enough for an investor to make profit. Existing residential apartments, the Village at Marshfield, which was formerly Fox Run, will remain based on the density that it's 14 units already. Going to 16, again, we do not feel that there is the money there for somebody to knock down what they got to do and then add a new sewer treatment plant. All existing, we do put that all existing commercial buildings will be redeveloped into residential multifamily buildings. Some of them will have commercial on the first floor. We don't have any idea how that will, how many or how much square foot that would be. And we're using the Madison, former Modera 1, as the basis for the school, police, fire, and projections. Next slide, please. Current package treatment plants, like the one at Modera 2, is going to cost $3.2 million, and it would be paid by the applicant/developer. Residential properties usually cost the town more than businesses, though not in this case, we found. We have no way of estimating how many new buildings in the MBTA community will be mixed use, as I said. And again, I just want to stress, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. This is going to take years to get to. Next slide. So that's your population. For the last 30 years, we've been hovering around 25,000 people. The last one over to your right, the projected, worst case scenario, we're talking 28,250 people. Next slide. Again, I mentioned 25,000 roughly for our current population. Our current persons per household is 2.51. There are two 40Bs that are added to the worst case scenario. That's how we get to that 976. When all these units are built, we could expect approximately 2,450 new residents in the town. That increase is about 10% in our population. And please note, this factor does not include the new ADU or accessory dwelling unit state law. We do not have any way of estimating what those numbers will be in the future. Next slide. All right, there's a lot on this slide. What's in red was the Modera, and that's the information on the schools and the number of students. And then what you see in the black on the columns to the right are the MBTA 650, Modera 2, 270, Bridal Crossing at 56, and then you have a total column. And Modera 1 is currently 88 students. And if you add up the MBTA, which is 231, with the other two, you get 347 students. Additional costs for all three developments to elementary schools is $500,000 per year. Additional cost for all three developments to the middle and high school was $340,000 per year, for a total of $840,000 per year. Again, this information was provided by the school department. Next slide. These are police fire calls per housing unit. I grew up here, and I was always told for years, oh, Fox Run and Castle Green and all, the cops and police are there all the time. Actual, by unit, it is Proprietors Green that we have most of the police and fire calls. I should say mostly fire calls. There are police calls. Projected additional police and fire under the worst case scenario, police would be 741, fire 448. The police department, based on the 10% increase in population, basically said they would need $600,000 per year for 5 to 6 new officers, plus 2 additional cruisers at $150,000. That's not every year for the new cruisers. Fire department would need 6 new firefighters / paramedics, plus an additional ambulance. That's roughly $500,000 per year, plus 1 ambulance. Again, $500,000, not every year. Next slide. All right, here's your parcels that are commercial, that are the potential for that worst case scenario. And again, all those buildings would have to be replaced with new residential mixed use. Can you make that bigger? We can't. But they're listed there. It's been online. We do have the information. The town would likely see, and this is from the assessors, $1.5 million in addition for taxes per year. There is a disclaimer at the bottom on the assessors because, again, this is projected. Next slide. So here's your hypothetical worst case scenario. New taxes collected, the $1.5 million. Additional Chapter 70 funds, and this is just for the MBTA's 230, for that 930 to 73. I had not known about Chapter 70 until recently. I didn't realize that we got additional, the school department gets additional funds from the state. Schools, 840, police, 600, as I mentioned, fire, 500, general services, meaning roughly the town hall people and stuff, 250. Those are our estimates of what those increases would be. So you see the 291, 2,190,000 and the 2,430,000. And again, this is based on the information that I've gotten from the other departments. Next slide. Why should you vote for the zoning article? The governor and the state are clearly pushing this. They will come up with other ways other than grants to penalize the communities that fail to pass this change. We are seeking the they are seeking the Supreme Judicial Court to allow for a special master to decide where zoning districts will go if we fail to pass. The special master may not require that 10% of the units are affordable. And remember, the state language says 15 units per acre. We're capping it at 16. Thank you.
Thank you. Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Advisory Board has spent a considerable amount of time looking at this article. There is a lot of complexity in this article, and to get through the complexity, we had to look at some basic fundamentals that we needed to know and we needed to understand. So the first thing that we needed to understand was, why did the MBTA Communities Act pass in the first place? So the state's in an epic housing crisis, and it makes it impossible for working families to find housing that isn't ridiculously expensive. So to create more housing, the state has been trying to incentivize towns for a very long time to get more homes built. The estimates are as high as 200,000 plus units of new multifamily housing needed to end the crisis in the Commonwealth. Incentivizing towns, however, has failed miserably as a strategy. So what did the state do when the carrots didn't work? They tossed out the carrots and they got a big stick. And that's where the MBTA Communities Act comes in. The next thing that we needed to understand was the act itself and how it would apply to the town of Marshfield. The MBTA Communities Act is the state's way of saying to towns, hey, we want you to adjust your laws so that if someone did want to build a certain number of units of multifamily housing, that it would be legally possible for them to do so. The law doesn't require that housing ever gets built. It doesn't require that anyone sells their land to a housing developer. And because it doesn't require any of that, it also doesn't have any funding attached to it. So here's the thing. The law requires that we make it legally possible for a developer to build new units, but it leaves a lot up to us. It gives towns the ability to pick where new buildings could possibly go up, and it put it in a place where it would be unattractive to developers. It doesn't allow us to make it legally impossible, but we can make it very unattractive. We believe that the town planner has done exactly that. The last thing that we needed to understand was, what was the real issue with the article? What is this debate really about? Is it about cost? Is it about something else? Cost is important. And clearly, we have a lot of work left to truly understand what the cost impact and strategy is. But this article is really a question about power and about risk. If the state has the ability to enforce this law, then there is a tremendous amount of risk that we will lose control over how we comply, of where those units get put. And a loss of control can subject us to far greater costs than what is presently forecasted. So can the state make this law stick? Can they take away grant funding? Can they force a town to comply? Well, some of those questions are sitting in front of the state Supreme Court after the state attorney general sued the town of Milton for not being in compliance. The ruling on that case is expected at some point within the next several months. So in the meantime, that leaves us here in our town to decide on whether to comply or not to comply. And if we comply, how do we do it? Article 12 presents us two possible choices. Choice one, we vote no. No means no, and we fight like hell. We may win, and if we win, then we spend some legal fees and we lose some grants, but hopefully nothing more. The other side of the coin, of course, is the chance that we lose. If we lose, we're likely to end up seeing 4 times the amount of housing that we have before us tonight. 4 times. We may also get told by a judge that we have to build in places that we do not want to. Think about an area that you don't want to see multifamily housing, and that's where it may in fact get built. Our second choice is that we vote yes. We come into bare minimum compliance, and maybe the units get built, and maybe some don't. We have no idea. But what we do is we retain control over where and how units get built. And we continue to make an unattractive option for developers. And so what do we do if the town of Milton wins next month? Well, we come right back to town meeting in April, and we throw the entire thing out with a simple majority vote. If the town of Milton loses,
Be quiet, please.
if the town of Milton loses, then we are already in compliance.
Point of order, please. Can we just go to a vote? Can we stop this? We've already been here and
If the
voted this
town of
down.
Milton loses, then we are already in compliance and not subject to penalty. And most importantly, we are in control. The advisory board, after giving careful consideration to both options, votes yes. Thank you.
Okay. This is an important article for the town in general. It needs to be well discussed, so I approve that. You want to speak?
Robert Galvin, Town Council, 26 Aunt Lizzie's Lane. It's my opinion that if the town votes these articles down, more than likely than not, you'll be placing where the zoning district will be located and what it will look like into the hands of the state that created this law, a judge or a developer, and lose what is most important to us, which is local control over where this could potentially go, if at all.
Okay. That's it for the presentations. We're going to go to discussion from the floor. This is going to be a majority vote when we finally go to a vote. I would say, as somebody said, we've already discussed this. There's some people that may not need any more information because you've already made up your mind, you're not going to change your mind, that's the way it came in. Either way. But there may be people that do want to know this information so they can make an informed decision. So that's why it's important to have a presentation that outlines all the possibilities that are out there. Okay, that being said, right
Hi.
microphone.
Muriel Tosi, 745 Union Street. I just wanted to address this question to Mr. Rick Smith on the advisory board. Mr. Smith, do you work or are you affiliated in any way with Vicinity Energy?
I don't think that that's
Yes,
relevant.
it is completely, I'm not going to ask a dumb question.
Do you wish to answer that or not? No, he
Okay,
chooses
so
not to
I looked
answer.
him up on LinkedIn. He works for Vicinity Energy. What I want to know is, does your company have any involvement or potential involvement with providing energy to the MBTA communities in Marshfield or any other MBAT community in Massachusetts?
Do you choose, please, do you choose to answer? No. He's not obligated to answer those questions.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. I listened to him the other day on TV, and he claimed that the people who are opposed to this don't want people that don't have a certain bank
you know,
account,
we're
that don't look a
talking
certain
about
way.
this-
No, wait a minute.
You
It
didn't
has to do
interrupt
with-
anybody speaking.
Excuse
and
me,
you're
I have 2
interrupting
minutes.
Residents.
No, I have the floor.
I'm telling you right now, he doesn't know the townspeople. We don't care about that. We
Okay.
care about how much we're going to be taxed. And if he has a
the issue
hand
is-
in doing this to our community with the
If-
energy
if
company,
you-
then it makes sense why he said we're disgusting
That's
to
it.
him.
Okay, here's the thing. These people that are up here in front of you did not ask for this to happen.
He didn't answer
This
my
state-
question. You could have
this-
just answered it
this
yes or no.
state didn't come in with our permission and didn't ask Marshfield if they wanted to have it. These people are doing the best they can to deal with the situation that was thrust upon them.
No.
I will
If
not get into...
If he is working for a company that has
Listen.
to do with our communities, that is
I
our
don't want to
business.
shut your microphone
We're
off,
the
but I
CEO
will.
of this town, not you people. We pay you.
Listen, what I'm saying is, stop.
Disgusting.
No, I don't, I'm not getting into a personal thing here. This is my point. If you have questions or comments about the act, that's fine, bring them up. It's not a personal thing.
It's a personal dot, I'm connecting dots here.
Well, the dots
Okay?
aren't going to be connected
And
in
he
that
won't
way.
answer, so answer my question.
that's it.
I'm from Marshfield, and he obviously
you
isn't, because he
have-
doesn't know this town. We're great people. This is the most welcoming community.
Okay.
And he should never say that we
We're
discussed
done.
him.
We're done.
Shame on you, Mr. Rick Smith.
We're done. It's uncalled for, and it won't happen again, because I'll shut your microphone off, who's ever saying that. Deal with the article. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of
Then let-
emotion around this, and that people feel strongly. That's fine. Feel strongly. Don't make it personal. Left microphone.
Jackie Mason, 1415 Ocean Street. I have a question first. Who put this out in front in the lobby?
I don't know what that is.
This piece of paper right here, what MBTA will do, yes or no? Who put this in the front lobby? Who's responsible for writing this up?
It was written by Mr. Galvin.
And can I have my time back?
Pardon me?
Can I have my time that you let run over after I asked my question?
What do you, I don't know what you mean.
It ran over. It was 1:56 when I stopped my question.
You can ask another question. I'm not, that's fine.
So Bob Galvin, you wrote this? So you wrote, as of 1/1/25, loss of town control over where multifamily housing can be proposed by developers and a potential for a receiver. You wrote that.
That's exactly what I wrote.
Okay, great. I reached out to Patrick O'Connor and I asked this question. Is it documented anywhere in the law that if our town does not comply with MBTA zoning regulation, builders have the freedom to construct developments anywhere chosen in Marshfield? His answer, no. The only punishment for noncompliance is loss of eligibility for various grants. It is worth noting that the penalties for noncompliance are being challenged in the Supreme Judicial Court by the town of Milton, and the court may even rule even these penalties unconstitutional.
Okay. So Mr. Galvin's going to respond to that?
Senator Connor isn't town council for Marshfield. He hasn't had 32 years of experience in land use law. And
be quiet, please.
And Representative Kearney disagrees with Representative or State Senator O'Connor and gave the exact opposite opinion. It's because he's not town council.
He didn't
he's
in the
not
MBTA
correct.
meeting that he came.
He also voted in favor of the MBTA Communities Act when it was originally passed, and he voted in favor of the amendment that added 13 additional grant funds to the state law.
Okay, go ahead.
1,158 units, or 600.
Is that a question?
Yeah, what are we voting on?
We're voting on the zoning article. Okay.
So the planning department has projected there'd be somewhere between 250 and 300 units in the proposed district. If that is not the district where this multifamily housing ends up, and that is a likely scenario, it is possible that Marshfield will have to accommodate 1,185 units somewhere else.
Okay, 900 residents have, our population has grown since 2009. Since then, our police budget went up 100%, fire up 68%, DPW 55%, total municipal 68%. Our school numbers took a dip in enrollment in this time frame, but the increase was still 42% with a $17 million increase. We could have a projected of 995 students based on the 1158. Enter our schools if this was built at the cost of $16 million a year extra just in education. How do you look in the mirror knowing this town can't afford to meet our children's right to an education, yet you still continue to push for your friends in the state? We could add the grants we've received that are in danger since 2011, and they won't come close to what it will cost our community. How does the town not look out for the most two vulnerable groups of residents, our seniors and our children? How do you sleep at night knowing you will be pricing out or starving seniors? So I ask, where are the reports from the state auditor to show the costs associated with MBTA zoning? As we need to know how much this mandate will cost our town. No one is buying a house.
Your time is up. Right microphone. Right microphone.
Lauren Clapp, Fox Hill Circle. So I wrote this today, and I'm hoping that people will listen to what I wrote. I stand here tonight to vehemently oppose the MBTA mandate, which represents nothing less than tyranny against our constitutional rights. This mandate forces changes to our town's zoning and land use, our consent, and egregious overreach that strikes at the heart of our freedoms. In April, Marshfield residents already voted no to this unjust measure. That vote was a clear rejection of a system that ignores the voices of the people and tramples on the principles of self-governance. Yet here we are again, facing the same attempt to impose the state's will on our community. Let me be clear. This is not governance, it is tyranny. It undermines our constitutional protections, including the fundamental right to own and manage property without state coercion. We will not succumb to the fear and pressure being wielded and forced to comply by Marshfield. We will not be intimidated and we will not be silenced. Any representative at Marshfield who fails to oppose this mandate is complicit in eroding the rights of the very people they were elected to serve. I urge you all to stand firm and defend our town and protect the freedoms that belong to us. Vote no again tonight and send a clear message. Marshfield will not submit to oppressive mandates that betray our values and jeopardize our future. Thank you.
Great. Left microphone.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. You know, I was thinking that when we voted no back in the spring, that, our leadership would have maybe developed a strategy instead of just figuring that we should maybe double down, which is what seems to be happening. But at the same time, I want to give the planning department some credit. They did some in-depth work and in-depth research, and they found, and maybe this can be confirmed, only one other place in town where this could possibly go. But even then there were problems because under this law, there are restrictions. You can't build any of this like in a wetlands area or in a floodplain, I think, too. So what makes Mr. Galvin and other people think that this can go somewhere else?
Sure.
When we have zoning regulations that would prevent that.
On January 1st, 2025, our bylaws will not be in compliance with state law. And it's my opinion, because I've heard it directly from the Assistant Attorney General, that will be suspended during that week by the Housing and Livable Communities, and about 1 week later, the town of Marshall will be named as a defendant in a lawsuit. And the Attorney General is going to seek the same relief they sought against Milton, and we're not going to be raising the same issues as Milton did. Milton was not challenging the underlying law, they were challenging the implementation of it via the guidelines, and they would challenge their characterization of being a rapid transit community. It's my opinion that they will ask for the same relief, and a court, likely a superior court, not the SJC, will decide whether a receiver or a state master or a special master gets appointed. And in the meantime, and I've explained it in detail to those persons that have wanted to listen, it is my opinion that a developer could come in and propose this to do it anywhere by right in the town of Marshfield. And that's been vetted by a number of other people, and it would be grandfathered from any subsequent zoning change, place it into a zoning as of the date of the application of the permit. I haven't explained that rationale to anyone that wanted to listen.
And
I'm asking you to consider, do you want 300 units where it's unlikely to be built, or face the prospect of the state that put this onto us?
Just a moment.
Put this onto us and having them decide where it'll be.
I asked a simple question, okay, and you went into a big, long, illegal argument, which we're not equipped to get into right here. This is not a courtroom.
Okay.
Next thing is, again, I give credit to the planning board. I want to know, Mr. Moderator, what has the MBTA done for Marshfield? What do they do for us now? I'm asking the planner, not this guy.
My knowledge is we're an adjacent community. The definition is that the next town over has MBTA. I believe that's the, Greg, is that the definition?
For the adjacent community, yes. Our money actually goes to GATRA. It does not go to the MBTA. Our MBTA assessment goes to GATRA.
But we're in this fix because we are an MBTA community, correct?
Correct.
How did we get to be an MBTA community?
I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Probably 25 years ago, Marshfield was added to the MBTA list by the state when they were looking for additional communities to increase funding for the MBTA. At one time, we had a yellow MBTA bus that went to the high school and brought people up to Braintree, but that has not been running for many years.
So if we're not an MBTA community, we're not subjected to this.
We are an MBTA community because we're listed just like we're part of MAPC. We're listed by state law as within the district.
Chapter 161A, and again, I want to turn this into a courtroom, says that communities can elect to join and they can also vote to leave MBTA communities. There's precedent for that. So I think we did not consider all of our options. We shouldn't even be here voting on this. I'd be in favor of postponing this, but it's more important to vote no, because the more no communities are, the more leverage and the more weight we have together to take this on in a class action suit and challenge everything and win. So we need to stick together.
Please.
It's one thing for the AG to go after one little town like Milton, okay, or one big town like Milton, but let them think twice about taking on 30 or 40 towns.
Okay.
And Halifax just voted overwhelmingly tonight to defeat this.
Okay,
we
you're
need to
done.
join our brothers in Halifax and join the other towns, because this is an outrageous mandate. And
Okay, thank
shame
you.
on
Your time
everybody
is
up
up.
there for not doing what had to be done to prepare for the alternative, which is
Okay,
the
your
fight,
time
which
is up.
has to be
Thank you.
done.
Right microphone.
Tina Shea, Carswell Street. I have a following quote from Mike Maresco from 2017 Patriot Ledger. It says, "My immediate goal is to get a handle on the budget. You can't do any of those other things if you don't have a solid budget, solid framework. I want to see more planning, and I want to see a better way of estimating revenue, and I want to improve communication with departments heads." Mr. Maresco, what did you mean by that?
That's beyond the scope of this article.
It's actually not.
Well, it is, because it's not
actually
dealing
not.
with the article at hand.
Is it capital planning that you were referring to?
You're beyond the scope of the article.
It's not beyond the scope,
Well,
because
then get to your
this is
point.
capital planning.
Then get to your point of what you're getting to, but right now, this is beyond the scope of the article.
But he should still answer my question. It is my 2
No,
minutes.
because it's beyond the scope of the article.
Yeah. You've been planted here by the state to continue your state work, and you just can't deprogram yourself. It's in line with Mr. Galvin not wanting to reveal how we might fight this. Why didn't you want to reveal how we might fight this, Mr. Galvin?
Do you want to respond to that at all?
If the town defeats this article, we'll make the claim that it's an unfunded mandate. We'll make other claims that it violates the state and federal constitution, the same claims that have been advanced in other locations, including Essex County, some of which have already been dismissed.
Why not now?
Because we are in compliance with the MBTA Communities Act, and no one has accused us of being in violation of the law.
Yeah, well, we pay you for facts and law, not your opinions, because you don't have a crystal ball. You see, the American public is still trying to come up for air after COVID conditioning. Excuse you? We went from 15 days to slow the curve to suffocating humans with mandated masks and mandated deadly injections. 4 years later, after the misinformation, also known as lies, there's a 500-page document from the House Select COVID Committee.
You're
in a
beyond the scope of
nutshell.
this article.
No,
This
I'm
is
not.
not-
This is a mandate, correct?
No, you're
Just
beyond
like
the scope of the
everything
article,
else
and you're gonna
was a
get shut
mandate.
off.
So
don't
the
do that.
anti-government sentiment is not for a reason, and our rights don't take a back seat to state mandates. You see,
You're
being
done.
bullied-
Thank you. You're done. Left microphone. You're done. Left microphone. No, I tell people to stop, they've got to stop. That's the way it goes. Left microphone.
Minutes.
There you go.
Madeline Daly, MacArthur Lane. I just want to state that the MBTA properties will overwhelm our town and will further burden services and our current and in much of need repair infrastructure, jeopardizing our safety and quality of life. We are already overbuilding. Marshfield currently has 276 units under construction behind Roach Brothers and 56 pending at Bridle Path. These units alone will bring significant growth that we are not ready to absorb. We are creating an unsustainable strain on our already disrepaired infrastructure and the services of schools, police, fire, roads, and water supply. Our medical services in the local areas are already under a strain and stretched thin. Good luck getting an appointment. South Shore Hospital has already spoken to state and Senate reps that they cannot handle this increase in population. This will also create financial burden on residents. The influx will lead to higher taxes, increased homeowners, flood, and auto premiums, raising costs dramatically for residents, which will force many to sell or lose their homes and severely damage our community's livability. Is this a way to increase housing, or is this a way for property investment portfolios to buy up more properties and take away home ownership from the middle and lower class? And as for the MBTA, that is already in disrepair. You cannot get standing room on rush hour going into the city. The buses, the trains, they're unreliable. We need a town leadership that actually cares about the safety and well-being of our residents. And our town administration must begin to prioritize the basic essential needs of Marshfield residents over unsustainable development.
Okay.
I will vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right microphone.
Kate Carr, 221 Hampstead Way. I just want to touch base on the pamphlet that was handed out. That seems pretty biased to me. Speaking with Senator Pat O'Connor, again with some of these questions, asking him directly, if the proposal is voted down in tonight's town meeting, how would this affect our current zoning regulations? Specifically, I'm interested in knowing what changes, if any, would occur between the zoning regulations as they stand now compared to what they would be in the near future. And this is directly from Senator O'Connor. If the MBTA community's proposal is voted down at town meeting, zoning does not change. The MBTA Communities Act was meant to serve as guidelines for basic requirements, and the town would remain in charge of how it wants to meet those requirements. I feel like right now we're just taking the easy way out of things, and just like Mr. Pesevich said, if no one stands up to Andrea Campbell in no towns in Massachusetts, everyone's just going to comply, and sometimes you just have to take that risk. And again, it could be voted down in the SJC when Milton's case goes.
Okay, thank you. Left microphone.
Thank you all for being here. Lynn Fiddler, 77 Brook Road. I joined the select board because of a commitment and love for the town. Thank you all for being here. This is big. I truly believe that we need to be in compliance to minimize the risks and need to support the planning board with a yes vote. Marshfield always stands up for itself, and we are tough and don't like to be told what to do. The prospect of joining a fight against the state may be tempting, but it lacks merit. We need to be fiscally conservative, not throw caution to the wind at the possibility of winning a fight that is a tough sell. Our town needs to be in the driver's seat. Our town needs to have this bylaw to keep control over this zone. This zone is the best area that meets the criteria identified by the state. And it is almost built out. We just don't know what a court-appointed master will do. I hope you listen to the facts and understand what is at stake. The enforcement by the state is clearer, and in fact, they have pushed harder on enforcement by pulling grants. We are expecting to lose perhaps $5 million in the next fiscal year, 25, by not being in compliance and able to receive grants we rely on. Our decision really must be fiscally conservative. Being in compliance with this article does skirt the intent of our lawmakers on Beacon Hill, on density, building height, etc. If our hand is forced by a master with a no vote, then this will only stick it to Marshfield and hurt our residents in the process. We cannot afford a no vote. It's Marshfield's responsibility today to vote, and the care and custody of our town is yours to decide. Each of us have one vote. I care about this town and will always battle for Marshfield, but I am hoping you decide the stakes are too high for this battle. I support this article. Vote yes. I appreciate it.
Right microphone. Ms. Jordan.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. I'm Vice Chair of the Board of Public Works, speaking as a resident. I've been doing my own research. Massachusetts is a home rule state. Home rule established the state as home. So the state makes the rules. Town meeting votes to create bylaws, but our bylaws must conform with state law. That is the law. And ultimately, it is the state that determines zoning law, which our bylaws must follow. That's how Massachusetts is set up. In the past week, I've spoken to 4 lawyers with municipal law experience from the Cape to Milton. I've explained to all of them Attorney Galvin's opinion about the risk from developers if we don't have a particular zone picked out that agrees with this law, which was passed by our legislators. All of these attorneys agreed that Attorney Galvin is correct. If we vote no, a developer can purchase a large piece of property and make a building permit application based on this state law. And a court would ultimately side with the developer and allow the development to happen. Today I spoke with Representative Patrick Kearney for over an hour. He also agreed with Attorney Galvin. The bottom line is that right now, the MBTA communities is a state law, and if we're not in compliance as of January 1st, we'll have an open zone, for lack of a better description, which a developer could absolutely take advantage of, and why would they not? I'm sure that a big developer could find some property with an ocean view and submit permit applications to build a large condominium and apartment complexes up to the number of 1,183 units. They would not be affordable housing because they would not be forced to make it affordable 10% as in the planning board zone. And we would, again, be at the mercy of 40B requirements, which we're not currently. Anybody who knows me knows that I am most often challenging the people on that stage, not agreeing with them. So it gives me absolutely no pleasure to stand here and say that I do agree, and our best case scenario is to get out of this thing with the least amount of impact, the planning board's chosen zone.
Your time's up. Thank you. Left microphone.
Yes, John Kramer, 22 Rayfield Road. It's time for state and local governments to stop doing things behind our backs. It's also time for state and local governments to be upfront with us about everything instead of keeping us in the dark about anything. It's time for the state legislature to repeal the MBTA Communities Act because the MBTA should not be dealing with housing issues. They should be dealing with public transportation issues. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts should not force our cities and towns to expand real estate development where we don't want it, where we don't need it, where it can damage our ecosystems. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey should not be forcing our cities and towns in Massachusetts to build all kinds of foundations on our aquifers, plumes, and water wells, which will contaminate our drinking water. People want to drink clean water from a tap instead of drinking contaminated water from a cesspool or a toxic waste site. Marshfield is out of space for any kind of real estate development. The town of Marshfield and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has not given us enough information and time just so we can ask questions, argue about where we should allow these projects to be built here, where are these projects to be built, and why these projects should be built here, and is it safe to build them there? Governor Maura Healey should stop playing games with our town to attempt to wreck our town and tear it apart. We said the no the first time around, and the state and the town should take no for an answer until our concerns and issues have been addressed. And our concerns and issues have not been addressed at all. So I say vote no. Thank you.
Right microphone.
Thank you. Bernie Dupuy, 6 Weathervane Lane. I read in the information that was sent out by the town hall that Mr. Maresco responded to about a 10-page letter questionnaire through Jackie Mason. Is that correct?
Mr. Maresco?
That is correct, sir.
In that response that you gave to her, you said that you had queried both the police and fire department with a best case, worst case scenario. And the best case was the police for $600,000 to $800,000, the fire department from $832,000 to $998,000. Is that correct? Those are the figures that you put out?
If they're in the letter, yes.
Okay. Those are different figures than what we're hearing tonight, totally different than what we're hearing tonight. I also heard some figure put out by the school department that was a cost of $700,000. There are currently 88 students from the Madison alone at a cost of $17,753. That's $1.562 million this year alone. $1.562 million this year alone. We were told when the Madison went up by some of the people sitting up here that, oh, don't worry about it. It'll have little of any impact on the roads and highways. Have any of you tried driving up to Route 3 lately? You've increased your commute time 5 to 15 minutes. It will have almost no impact in terms of school. 88 students already within 2 years at a cost of $1.57 million. A tax burden because they're not paying their share. They're paying $700,000. We're in deficit of another $700,000. I guess I'm standing here looking at the same people who told me, don't worry about the Madison. It's not going to be a problem, not going to affect your roads, not going to affect cost of town. And I'm asking if someone up there can tell me why I should believe you now.
Left microphone.
John Clifford, 87 Wrights Way. Mr. Moderator, I move the question.
Okay, I will accept that motion, so I'll ask, raise your hands, who's in favor of moving the question? I think that's unanimous, almost. So I'm going to accept that motion to move the question. We are done with discussion from the floor, and we're going to go to a vote. I think practically speaking, it's going to make sense to go to a standing vote as opposed to a show of hands. Just seeing the different way the people are approaching things here today, I think it would be better off. So if everybody can get into a seat that's voting, you need to be into a seat. Katie, there's a couple right down front. Yeah. And if the officers can close the doors. So you have to be sitting. Are you all set in the gymnasium to take a standing vote? Okay, we're all set over in the gymnasium. So we're going to go for a standing vote. This would be voting in favor of the planning board plan. If the tellers can all stand so that you can see who your teller is. So if this passes, we will vote on 13 and 14 because we linked the articles. If this fails, we will be done with any of the MBTA articles. So all those in favor of the planning board article, please rise. Yes.
Yeah, we're all set. Everybody can sit.
Are we all set, tellers?
Yeah, yes, we are. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you too, Don. So we're going to go to the auditorium first and then to the gym.
All right, we have two sections here, one left and one right.
Okay.
The left section voted 12 in favor,
Okay?
and the right section voted 10 in favor.
Okay. So in the auditorium, Section A. 36. Section B. 51. Section C. 38. Section D. 29. Section E. 25. Section F. 8.
And the front voted 12.
What? Is that? So we're 221 for the yeas. Okay, now we're going to
Would you repeat the B section, please?
the B section was 51?
Yes or no?
51.
Thank you.
Okay, going to go for the no votes. The no votes are against the planning board article. So all rise who are in the negative. But this way.
Third row, just the third row. Just the third row.
I was like, I think some, initially I was like, I think some folks took twice. I wish we had that. That'd get read down. The SJC rules by then. What's that? I know, right?
Okay, I think we're ready to tabulate the vote here, if everybody can be quiet. Mr. Gibson, do you have your totals over there?
I certainly do. The left section voted 11 no. The right section voted 15 no.
Okay, thank you. Section A. 46. Section B. 45. Section C. 18. Section D.
He's adding them up. He's adding.
We're waiting on Section D.
No, he's adding.
Right.
He's adding his homes. Yeah, he's adding down.
There's no question. I just want to know. 131. I need to be able to get the votes from everybody to put this to bed, so please don't. Section E.
105.
Section F. 46. Front. 1. I declare that Article 12 fails. I'm going to make a motion that we're going to indefinitely postpone Articles 13 and 14. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? That passes with a majority.
I want a revote. I want a revote.
Pardon me?
I want a revote.
I'm not going to revote.
Okay.
Why would I do a revote?
Jim?
Okay. I don't take reconsiderations ever. I mean, unless somebody came in and said there's a whole new piece of information that nobody ever considered, I've never done a reconsideration vote ever. It's a political ploy, and I just don't buy into that. So you leave here, you don't have to worry about the fact that there's going to be some other vote that changes things. I'm going to give a minute for everybody that wants to leave to be able to leave.
Thank you.
And then we're going to go on with the rest of the meeting. We are going to be taking articles at least up until 10:30. We'll see how far we get.
All right. It's a mess.
Right. Wait till some developer puts $10 million, buys Blackman's Point for $10 million and puts up. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Stop that one. Is that one? No, we need that
What we voted on, is what I want to get.
We need that one.
This is what we have. 28 is out. And we have second, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 25, 26.
We did 22.
This is what passed.
And then we got the butters. Okay, everybody, we can settle down a little bit. We have more work to do and not a lot of time in which to get it done, so let's get to town. Okay, the article at hand right now is Article 28.
And then 21.
With, what's on deck? Pardon me? 26. We're doing Article 28 with Article 26 on deck.
21.
21.
28 and 21. Isn't it? Oh, no, wait. 26? Isn't that 28? 28 is the one that's up. And then 21.
21, okay. 28 and then 21. Article 28. The Select Board moves that the town vote to approve the amended South Shore Regional Vocational School District Regional Agreement on file in the town clerk's office, and this is going to be a majority vote. Mr. Maresco.
Michael Moresco, 201 Arlington Street. This particular article is being voted in all the communities. It's changing the debt calculation from a 3-year fixed look-back to a 4-year rolling average look-back. Marshfield's annual adjustment calculation will run through fiscal year 32. Then starting in fiscal year 33, its debt share will be calculated using the 4-year rolling average, because at that point, there will be comparable enrollment history to other towns regarding the 4-year consecutive 9 through 12 students enrolled in the district.
Okay, Advisory Board. Okay, the Advisory Board supports. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll go to a vote. This is a majority vote. Oh, there is discussion from the floor.
Mr. Moderator, I'm not opposed to this, but I do have a question, especially in regards to what was discussed in your little town meeting session with the potential debt exclusion coming up. And I may want to file an amendment to this in regards to that. Is there going to be a...
Yeah, you need to give your name and address.
Eric, oh, sorry, Eric Kelly, Peterson Path. Is there going to... When I looked into it after the discussion at your town meeting discussion there, is there going to be a town meeting vote prior to going to the ballot?
For the assessment, for the new building?
Debt exclusion?
So that doesn't have anything to do with this article, but I know what you're referring to. There's a building article that's going to be coming up for the South Shore VOC that they are assessing the 9 towns that are part of the VOC organization. And is that just a vote? It's just a vote. It's not a town meeting vote.
Yeah,
it's a ballot question.
So we're going right to the ballot, no discussion at town meeting?
Right.
I mean, when did... We always did that before, so when did that
We
change?
never did that before because we were never part of the South Shore VOC system.
Oh, so the South Shore vote tech is outside of the town meeting vote?
Yeah, we voted to approve that we entered the South Shore VOC system a couple of town meetings ago.
No.
And then this is only to do, what you're asking about is slightly outside the scope, but it's sort of pertinent. So.
The whole thing, well, it's the whole thing is that I may want to file an amendment to this in regards to the whole situation because I have concerns where we're not going to have a town meeting vote prior to going to a ballot question to discuss a debt exclusion vote. So we are not, so it's my understanding what you're saying is that we are not having a town meeting discussion to discuss town meeting discussion nor a vote before it goes to the ballot for a debt exclusion vote. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
Do you want to chime in on this better than I can? Okay, is Superintendent Hickey here?
Yes.
Is that helpful?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Tom Hickey. I'm the superintendent at South Shore Tech. To Mr. Moderator, to the previous speaker, Mr. Kelly, there will be ultimately two decisions that the residents of our 9 towns will make. We, this regional school district, use a portion of state law that said we would ask the voters directly in our 9 towns on Saturday, January 25th, whether or not the project would be supported. The question of a debt exclusion is not within the purview of that question and would ultimately be subject to town meeting and a district and a town-wide ballot in whatever process you follow for that. The first vote, whether or not the project is supported by the district, has no debt exclusion attached to it.
So the process, if I can clarify that, there's a vote coming up in January to approve, in theory, the new school construction project, and then a subsequent vote that would be happening at the town level to come up with a way to fund that. Is that the safe way to describe that?
Yes, it is.
So my understanding of this, we're just doing a sample vote on January 25th without any financial attachments to it?
Mr. Moderator, I wouldn't refer to it as a sample vote, but what I would say is it's a binding vote, and it's asking the voters of the 9 towns whether they're going to support the project. Each community within our district would decide independently how they would fund it, which I would say, Mr. Moderator, most likely would have to be a matter for a debt exclusion.
All right. You know something? I'm good at the moment, Mr. Moderator.
Right, thank you. It's good to clarify that because when it comes up later on, people are going to want to know what that is. Okay, so no further discussion. All those in favor of Article 28, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that that passes by a majority. We are on to Article 21.
Yep.
On to Article 21
26 is on debt.
with 26 on deck. Article 21 is a planning board article. The planning board moves that the town vote to approve Article 21 as set forth in the December 16th, 2024 special town meeting warrant, and this is going to be a 2/3 vote. Mr. Guimond.
Thank you. Do we have the slide for Article 21? I think it should be with 19 and 20. Move forward. Keep going. Next one. Oh, okay, thank you. Currently, large on-the-ground solar facilities are allowed in the industrial district and a special permit in the airport district. State Dover Amendment, Section 3 of the State Zoning Act, exemptions from local zoning regulations, overrides local zoning for a number of uses, including solar farms, except for where it's necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare. This article would make the town more compliant with Section 3 of the State Zoning Act, and it would direct solar farms away from the town's drinking water and parts of the town with smaller lots and flooding concerns. Please note on the table of use down below, you see permitted in R1, permitted in R2, not allowed in R3, not allowed in RB, permitted in B1, B2, B3, B4, OP, office park that is, industrial, airport, and in the PMUD. It would not be allowed in the WRPD district. The Bravo or the Brant Rock Village overlay, that is a Scribner's error that we will correct at the next town meeting. That should have been prohibited. But because it's more restrictive than advertised for the public hearing, I was not going to make the change as a town meeting amendment.
Okay, that it? Advisory board? Okay, the advisory board supports. Seeing no discussion from the floor, this is a two-thirds vote. All those in favor of Article 21, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Declare that passes by two-thirds. We're on to Article 26. Article 26, the Harbor Master moves that the town vote to approve Article 26 as set forth in the December 16th, 2024 special town meeting warrant. Officer DeMayo.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, town meeting. So this article is a simple house cleaning article, just changing some word in this a little bit, some better grammar, and also adding an online system for the folks that are on the morning wait list. It's a little redundant to have 300 people come to town hall, the clerk's office, to sign a list in person when we could take care of it online, save the town some money with people that are maintaining this, having a one-stop shop, and it also aligns with the mooring renewals as well. So that's basically it. I'll answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Okay. Advisory Board? You guys all good? Okay. Support, no comment. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 26, please raise your hand. All those opposed?
Thank you.
I declare that passes by majority. We're on to Article 15, and 15 is linked with 16 and 17. Article 15, the Planning Board moves that the town vote to approve Article 15 as set forth in the December 16, 2024 special town meeting warrant. Mr. Guimont.
So it would be under 15, 16, and 17.
Right.
Okay.
We're starting
Thank
with
you.
15, so.
Recently, the state has made additional changes to Chapter 48 of the Zoning Act. The changes focus on two things. First, the definition of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, and the second, adding certain exemptions for the creation of accessory dwelling units by right in single-family residential districts, subject to reasonable regulations, including but not limited to site plan review, setbacks, bulk, height, and subject to restrictions and prohibitions on short-term rental use. Next slide. Under Section 7, the new language removes the old definition and replaces it with a new definition. And that includes, maintains the separate entrance not larger than 1/2 the gross floor area of the principal dwelling or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller, and a subject similar to the language I read in the previous slide that says it's not limited to site plan review, setbacks, height, and bulk. And that we could prohibit short-term regulations. Next slide. Under Section 13, the new law says there's no zoning ordinance shall prohibit or unreasonably restrict or require a special permit or other discretionary zoning approval for the use of land or structures for accessory dwellings in single-family districts. The new law also says there's no requirement for owner occupation for either accessory dwelling unit or the principal, and only one parking space shall be required for an accessory dwelling unit. If the accessory dwelling unit is within a half mile of a commuter rail station, it does not need a parking space. Next slide. This new state ADU law does not enable the town to require accessory dwelling units to be affordable, and both the home and the accessory can be rental. Accessory dwelling units do not count towards meeting the town's Chapter 40B 10% requirement. This proposed bylaw puts the town in compliance with the ADU safeguards and provides abutters with some notice of an accessory unit prior to construction. The state ADU bylaw starts on February 2nd, which is why I had to bring it to this town meeting, that we would have language in place prior to it being enacted by the state. The state will be developing ADU regs, and it's very likely that the town will need to be modifying the language within the next year. And in fact, they have come out with draft regulations which are going through the public hearing process yet. Next slide. What does the zoning article for the accessory dwelling units allow? It allows the creation of an accessory dwelling unit either within a single-family home or within an accessory building by right with site plan review. Sets up the planning board as the site plan review board. Complete applications are reviewed by the planning board as an agenda item at a regular meeting. Must meet the minimum yard setbacks, building height coverage, and minimum open space requirements. Would require a 10-foot setback from the principal building. It would require properties within the WRPD to have 10,000 square feet per bedroom, and that's Board of Health and also state Title V for that requirement. It requires one additional space for the accessory dwelling unit. It allows the maximum size of the dwelling unit to be not more than 50% of the total floor area or of the primary dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is less, and does not allow for the short-term rental of accessory dwelling units. 2 weeks ago, the state released the draft regulations, and comments were provided at the public hearing on the draft regulations. So the planning board voted to make a floor amendment on Article 15. And the floor amendment would insert the words height and after the word minimum in section C of the review standard number 7, and then it would strike section C, accessory dwelling units review standards 12 and 13, and renumber section C accordingly. Once the state finishes with its ADU regulations, the planning board will see how this permitting process is going and the number of accessory dwelling units being submitted, and we will return to town meeting to modify as necessary. And then
Okay.
the one other thing is, based on the comments that we got in the state draft regulations, we voted, the planning board voted not to move Article 17.
Okay. We're going to leave that up because we're going to have to vote on that amendment first.
Yep.
Advisory Board. Okay. Well, Advisory Board support. So we're going to vote. This is an amended article. So you've got the text of the amendment up on the screen there, approving the amendment as a majority vote. Any discussion on the amendment? Only on the amendment. Okay. Going to go for a vote on the amendment. All in favor of accepting the amended language, please raise your hand. All opposed? So we are now voting on an amended article. So we're going to discussion on the article. Mr. Stewart.
Andrew Stewart, 8 Highland Street. I'm speaking tonight against the passage of this article and encourage my fellow town residents to vote it down. I believe that this proposed bylaw change does not conform to the intent of the state law, nor the draft regulations that the state is still in the process of developing. The town should not take any action on altering this bylaw or creating any new procedures until the state has put forth regulations for the law. The ADU law is set to take effect on February 2nd, 2025, and at that point, ADUs that meet the state definition will be a by right protected use that cannot go through any different of a review process than that is currently in place for a single-family dwelling. Currently, site plan review is only used in Marshfield for non-residential properties. So taking the current special permit review process for accessory apartments out of the Zoning Board of Appeals and placing it with the Planning Board under a new site plan approval process for what is now a by right use on residential properties would be contrary to the regulations that are currently being proposed and the intent of the ADU bylaw. I strongly feel that the by right review process of a proposed ADU should rest in the building commissioner's hands, which is the current process for any proposed single-family residence. If the proposed ADU meets the state definitions and meets the state building code and Title V requirements, it should be allowed by right, just like any other residential dwelling unit. Once the state regulations have been finalized, the town can then create a new bylaw at the annual town meeting in the spring that addresses special permit conditions such as multiple ADUs, ADUs larger than 900 square feet, non-conforming structures, non-conforming lots, building height, and entrance locations. Please join me in voting against the passage of this bylaw.
Mr. Kelly.
I have great concerns with this ADU law. where it doesn't have to be owner occupied, even outside of that, but I think this law has all the frills around it saying, oh, it's going to be great for families that can move somebody in. And I think, and which is true, and I'm all for, but my belief is that this law is more geared towards investors. And they'll come in here, they will scoop up as much property they can, especially along the ocean front, and they will take that house, they'll turn it into a rental. They'll be able to put an ADU in, as Andrew was saying, maybe even more than that, and put it and get the rental. It'll be a bonanza. Those houses will be forever removed off the market, in my opinion. You know, upon an appointment today of an advisory board member, I did some research, and this is off the Common Square Neighborhood Development Corporation, and it says, they were talking about condominiums in Dorchester. Most of these property owners are real estate investors or entities that own multiple properties throughout the study area. They have converted buildings that contain condos back into units available for rent in pursuit of the highest profit. Since the direction of the condo conversions in the study area was the opposite of what was expected in the area, we're undergoing transformation. It became useful to investigate deeper into the properties that are still condo main buildings, as seen, and then it goes on to discuss other things. So the whole thing is that people, the investors are out there, they're buying condos and like in triple deckers and turning them around. I see the same thing with this law. It's more geared, not so much that they care about the families and parents moving and all that, but it's more for the investors. And I think we need to come up with some, one is get our representatives involved in changing this, but the other is to, for the planning board and whoever else to be involved in regards to shaping rules where we can control the percentage of investment owned in town versus what is homeowner in town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Galvin would like to make a comment back on that.
So this is a little different than the earlier law, the MBTA Communities Act. On February 2nd, this law goes into effect and the town doesn't have a choice. This becomes the law in the event that the planning board's bylaw isn't approved and we follow the state law, which will allow ADUs by right without any type of site plan approval. And all you'll really have to do is comply the minimum provisions of the law and the setback requirements.
Okay. Left microphone.
Katie O'Donnell, 90 Summer Street, Vice Chair of the Planning Board, but I'm speaking on my own. That clarification is appreciated, that this law will go into effect, whether or the state's law will go into effect. So I would disagree with the previous speaker who said to go along with what the state had said. I think we've seen a lot of skepticism on the state's part from everyone here tonight. And I would urge voters to vote in favor of this, keep the planning board to have site plan approval. And that lets the planning board, which is your elected board, to closely monitor this, see any issues that may arise, and develop adequate responses. I do have concerns about ADUs, especially how they'll count as housing units, which could go against our 40B calculations. And while I think that we would like to see some more accessory units in town, we want to monitor these closely and make sure that we're doing what's the best for Marshfield. Thank you.
Okay. Right microphone.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Could I get some clarification? Maybe the building inspector could clarify more on the schedule for state amendments and revisions. What's the schedule for that again?
Andrew, can you handle it?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So I've been attending a bunch of different ADU draft regulations that they came out with on the 6th. We had a webinar on the 10th, another webinar today. We have a webinar exclusively just for building officials, who are going to be the majority of the people determining this, tomorrow. The comment period opens on the 20th and extends to January 10th. And January 10th is the actual date that they'll have a hearing for the state on these regulations. So that's the timeline. So they want the regulations in place before the state law happens. They've been You know, all this information's available, mass.gov/ADU. These presentations, the webinars, and all the information about what the intent is, what they want and they don't want as far as the review process.
And may I ask, who's promulgating those regulations? Under whose purview is that?
That's the Executive Office of Housing and Livable
Oh, it's
Communities.
EOHLC also, but with the participation of building commissioners?
Building commissioners, planning departments, zoning departments, all sorts of design professionals and people all across the community, the Commonwealth.
And so this particular bylaw, Mr. Moderator, it sounds as though this particular bylaw could undergo some significant revision. I'd like to ask what the building commissioner thinks about how ADUs could possibly be, if there could possibly be an issue with the utility service to ADUs. Has he thought about that at all? How would
Mr. Stewart?
would you feed off of a principal house, or would you have to do additional service connections to an ADU? How is that issue going to be handled?
Service connections haven't been determined yet as far as what they're going to do for regulations. I think that's going to be coming down to more of a town-wide decision whether they want to enforce that or not.
Yeah, that's...
But these units will not be able to be sold individually under state law.
Understood. Can they be rented individually, Mr. Moderator?
Both, there's going to be no requirement under the state law for principal home ownership in either the principal dwelling or the ADU. That's going to be a by right protected use under the state law, regardless of any type of review that any town board or even I do. That's just going to be a protected use by right.
Okay. And that's the last thing I'm really super concerned about, as has been expressed prior to me getting up here, is that non-owner occupied is a very dangerous thing and goes in the exact opposite direction that I think even people on the planning board are concerned about. So I think this needs to be defeated right now.
Okay,
and
thank
then
you.
refined before we can vote on it again.
Stay there, Andrew. Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So can I just ask Andrew one question? And that would be, so that would mean like a large group of communities that have undersized lots would be, wouldn't be allowed to do this? They would be excluded?
I don't understand your question.
So like in Brant Rock, where the lots are tiny, they wouldn't be able to have accessory apartments?
So if there are an undersized lot, a 5,000 square foot lot, we have a bunch of them, you might not be able to locate a new accessory dwelling unit on that lot if it can't meet the setback requirements.
Well, we don't have a bunch of them. We have a whole coastal community full of them. I mean, it's not...
Right, but the comment is if it can't meet setback requirements, you couldn't locate them one there.
You'd have to meet, the ADU would have to comply with the setback requirements.
Right, and so you'd have to have
Mr. Martin.
bigger lots to be able to take advantage of this then, right? Is that right?
Mr. Giebart.
So currently, you have to have the minimum lot requirements square foot. This, what we're
That's 5,000 square feet?
10,000 square feet
10,000.
for an R3. This takes away that restriction. It just says you have to meet your setbacks.
Yeah, but people with smaller lots certainly are restricted because they don't have the setbacks.
Well, if you don't meet the setbacks, then you can't build an ADU. That's what I take from that.
Right, so I think we should defeat the article.
Okay.
Just to make it fair for everybody.
Right microphone.
Lynn Fiddler, 77 Brook Road. So where do we stand right now with any existing permits in the pipeline, and this changes if this is defeated or if it is passed?
Mr. Giemond.
My understanding currently this year, there has been one accessory apartment that received a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. O'Donnell, you already spoke, so you can't speak again. So, seeing no further discussion, we're going to go for a vote. This is a majority vote. If Article 15 passes, then we're going to discuss Article 16. If Article fails, then we'll pass over Article 16. So all those in favor of Article 15, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Oh, I would say that was failed. So I'm declaring that article failed. And that being said, we're going to pass over Article 16. Mr. Stewart, you have a point of order?
I believe the other two articles are actually valid. Changing the definition to accessory dwelling unit to be in line with the state definition is a valid article. And I think also identifying what areas the state by right use.
Article 17 is being passed over by the planning board. So that's off the table anyways. But if Article 16 is a standalone article, I grouped them because of the topic. So if you think that Article 16 is a valid argument in and of itself, then we can certainly talk about Article 16.
Yeah, I would ask that, please.
Okay. Yes.
So if you vote this article down, we get this definition no matter what. We can't have a bylaw definition of an accessory dwelling unit that's any different from state law. So it could be passed over without any legal effect.
Okay. So if it's not necessary, I think we pass it over, if it's going to do the same thing. Okay. So we're going to pass over Article 16. Article 17 is moot at this point. So we're at 10:30.
Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
Sorry. With Article 17, that was, again, this is why I wanted Article 16, because it defines accessory dwelling unit, and then Article 17 says where the by right use will be allowed.
Article 17 got passed over by the planning board. It's not on the table. They withdrew it.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So we have currently Articles 7, 8, and 9, 18, 19, and 20, and 25 and 27 to discuss, yet to discuss, and it's 10:30. So we have two options. Either we come back tomorrow, finish off those articles, which there are a number of articles there, or we can stay tonight, but I dare say it's going to be a late night if we stay to finish them all off. I'm good for either one. It's up to you. So all those in favor of staying tonight and dealing with the whole warrant, raise your hand. All those opposed to that? Okay, we're going home, guys. I don't think that's a bad choice, honestly, because there's things in here that need to be discussed. So we'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock.